a little cross in there, and it's come through here. McAteer! Dynamo Bucharest to step forward. The nation holds its breath. Yes!
Well, what's the crack? How are you all doing? I hope the hair on the back of your fucking neck was standing up looking at that intro, because it fucking does every time I look at that and hear the music and the commentating and everything. But I'll tell you what, we've been starved as a nation, fucking starved of this. And as I says, you seen who the man who I'm blaming for this, you know, this is the man who I'm fucking blaming, that Irish people, like, you know, and Irish supporters are not celebrating things like that intro there, you know. This is why I wanted to do this. I've wanted to do this for fucking, I'd say, about over a year now. I says, I want to just build this up, get it fucking going, and look into it, study it, try to understand exactly what's going on so I know what's going on. I'm going to League of Ireland matches, so no one can go to me, you're supporting Arsenal, you don't go to the League of Ireland matches. Well, guess what? I'm fucking going. So no one can give me bleeding stick. I'm not an armchair terrorist. You know, and by the way, I'll be doing a live stream for the Bows Shamrock Rovers game tomorrow. I can't bring the young fellas to that. Hence, if you know Irish football, you'll know why I'm not going to that game live. Anyway, I want to, first of all, I'll introduce my guest here. He has been on before, but he's the Liverpool channel as well, the upper tier. Absolute quality stuff out of the Monday mashup, the Thursday upper tier, everything like that. Niall, what's the story? Thanks a million again for coming along. How are you doing, brother?
Not a problem, my friend. Always a pleasure to share a screen with yourself and Warren. And what an intro to the show. How does that bastard get an intro like that to his episode? I do not know. But we get into it. We're gonna have fun with this one, I'd say.
Yes, we are indeed. And as I say, this would not have been possible only for this man underneath me here for doing the slides. So first of all, everyone, Warren is here. But who the fuck is he? Is he English? Is he Scottish? Is he Irish? What is he? He's Scottish. But I'll tell you, he done us a favour. What he done was he researched as well, looked into it, and he put together the slides that we're all going to see here this evening. So a big shout out to you, Warren. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Enjoyed putting the slides together. Well, I say enjoyed it. It was quite painful knowing that my mates had to endure that nonsense. Because in my opinion, it is absolute nonsense. I'm sure we'll get into it. And how that man is still alive or not sitting in a prison cell somewhere, I just don't understand it. It's just unbelievable. The chaos, the mayhem, the incompetence, the complete disregard of the office that he was holding. It's shocking. It's shocking. It really is shocking, but we'll get into it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and even I must be telling people, because as you were sort of researching this and putting slides together and everything like that, I get random text message. This bastard, Del, how is he still walking the streets? You just random text messages. And I'm just like, going here, this is why I wanted to do the show. You know what I mean? It's, you know, that's just something I wanted to share with anyone. But look,
Del, I've visions of Warren putting the slides together like Robert Kardashian on that O.J. Simpson trial or something like that. Fair play, Warren. Love it.
Yeah, exactly. Look, let's stop talking shite and let's get into it. So let's, Warren, you're controlling the slides tonight. By the way, first of all, I just want to quick hit through everyone that's in the chat, just really, really quick, because I know you guys have been waiting and I apologize for that. TJ Warren, punch the likes out of the button. Looking forward to this. Thanks, mate. Big up, TJ. Going to be a banger. This good man Jamino's in the house. There's Niall. Look, thanks a million, Niall, for dropping the comment. John Delaney was fair Irish football, an absolute legend. I can't even type that shit in a straight face. Exactly, mate. Come on, the lateness. I know, my fault. John Delaney was on the phone to me, offering me a few million not to go live. but I just says, fuck you, I have to do it. And the boys just saying hello to each other. I just want to just skip down through because I want to get going on this. Niall is in the house. Big up to the lads. Yeah, cheers, guys. Yeah, and please do drop a few comments in here and there, and I'll just start popping them up on the screen. So, Warren, do you want to get the show on the road, mate?
Yeah. So, do you want me to explain this?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, that basically, what this is I did one earlier about Scottish football and about because every time I go off about this subject, saying why are we so crap at football? Why is it we can't produce world-class players? Although I think we've got 2, but how come is it we can't when there's other countries of the same population as us that can? And I get told, oh, it's because it's a small country and this. And I just wanted to show this because I just wanted to blow that argument out of the water. These are the top 10 countries by population on planet Earth, right? And if you look at them, how many of them have won a World Cup?
Yeah, Jesus. What? One? Brazil?
Yeah, exactly, which is Brazil. And the rest of them are dog shit. China, India. I don't think India's even ever qualified for a World Cup, have they? Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Do you know what I mean? And we got Ireland 124th at 4.9 million. And it's like 0.0%, 0.06% of the world's population.
Like, Niall, just coming to you on that, mate, like, do you believe, like, you know, I hear it a lot when I'm talking to people, like, let's say, oh, but sure, we're only a small island, we're only this, we're only that. But, like, we're sending a lot of youngsters over to England, to the UK, which are going through a scouting system, academies, and clearly they're good enough. Like, what would your argument be, or would you agree with what Warren is saying there?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Obviously, like if you have a much bigger pool to pick from, but I suppose when you look at a lot of those countries there, like football wouldn't be their kind of key sport and stuff like that. And even in Ireland, you know, the GAA is so big here in Ireland and stuff like that, you know, and then football comes in there somewhat as well. And it's just, it's one of those things. Sometimes it's not necessarily related to the quantity. Sometimes it's the quality as well, and where that sport fits into that country. You know, you see a lot of the countries you see there. The United States is making waves now in terms of football and stuff like that. You've seen it in the last World Cup. They're producing really good players. There's a lot more US players playing in the Premier League and in Europe and stuff like that. But then you look at the likes of India and Pakistan and places like that. Bangladesh, they're really big in terms of cricket and stuff like that, and they're fantastic at it and stuff like that. So football may not be their key sport. But it's one of those things. It's definitely, if you have a bigger pool to pick from, obviously you've got more chance if you're focused on that sport, and we are heavily focused on it. But I mean, as a small nation, if you want to put it up there in inverted commas, we've produced world-class athletes all down through our history. If you look at boxing, if you look at athletics, if you look at the Olympics, you go down through all the sports. You know, we've even come to the forefront ourselves now in terms of cricket there for a while as well, which kind of came out of the blue and stuff like that. So we've always been, you know, heavily a sporting nation on the back of being the underdogs and stuff like that. We love that underdog kind of story in the background there, and it's something that it's bred into us from our Celtic background as well. We've always had to fight for anything we've wanted down through, you know, the history of the country and stuff like that, from independence all the way back through history. We've been Celtic warriors all our life, and we've battled hard and stuff like that. And it comes through in our sport as well. There's a culture there and a drive that, you know, we won't be put down. We won't be defeated. We'll give everything we can to be the best that we can be. And, you know, we've created some historical moments along the way, you know. So it's a great slide in what it shows and stuff like that and all. But it'd be interesting to see if we could get a kind of a breakdown, Warren, maybe in terms of football and stuff like that, you know, per capita and all that kind of thing. That would be a cool slide maybe to look at in the future and stuff like that. But yeah, for the population that we have, it's unbelievable at times what we achieve.
Because the thing is, I always go back to this thing that we got. Everything you said, no, is 100% correct. But then we got Croatia, who get into World Cup finals, semi-finals, consistently, tournament after tournament after tournament. Yet we are unable to do it. When I say we, I'm talking about Scotland, Ireland, Wales. They're all, well, not so much Wales because they're much smaller, but particularly Scotland and Ireland have got population sizes similar to Croatia, right? So I just don't understand why it is that we're not able to do it. And I think it's to do with the coaching. Because and I know for a fact that in Croatia, when they're kids, they have to play this thing called futsal, which is a football game which sort of teaches kids about how to play, like it builds up their technical skills of playing football, which is, I think, the basis of it all. But what you said was 100% right. And you look at Ireland's record and the rugby union of late, and you know, you're now number one team in the world, aren't you? So, you know.
Yeah, a lot of it, Warren, as well, has to do with investment and stuff like that. And obviously, we've had problems in that area, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later. That the impact that this has had, the John Delaney stuff, on the investment into grassroots football here. I've coached at that level as well and stuff like that. But it's also, a lot of it has to do with international football as well. If you look at international football and how it has developed, and the emerging nations and the power of the African nations and all this kind of stuff that's come to the forefront, and obviously the USA. Football now on a global stage is huge business now, even for countries at international levels. And there's no such thing as easy international games anymore. And you can see that a lot of these emerging countries and stuff like that, they've heavily invested in their grassroots football, their development of players, coaches. They've brought in top-level coaches and managers and stuff like that and all. You look at the managers there, even in the World Cup, and you look at some of the nations that were there, and you're going, oh, so that's where that guy went, and that's where that guy went. They're now managing these teams that, like, you know, before you would have thought of they'd be managed by kind of like, you know, like a local coach or whatever it is and stuff like that. They didn't kind of take it serious. But now, because there's so much money involved and stuff like that, now they're bringing it to the forefront. They're bringing in top managers, top coaches. Sports science has developed, all these other things and stuff like that, you know. And that has changed the face of international football in a huge way over the last 10 years.
Yeah, 100%. Kyle Ultra's decided to join us there. Are you all right, Kyle? How are you doing?
Del boy, first of all, I'd like to say a big up to the panel. Legends in the house. Legends in the house.
Good man.
Number 2, Del boy, I was supposed to pop on, but I'm stuck here and work. I'm waiting here for an absolute fucking asshole. So I had about 5 minutes to spare. So I'm going to jump on and going to say my piece, and then I might have to jump off.
Yeah, work
well,
right.
Here's what I'm going to say, Del boy. I'm going to get straight to the fucking facts here, and I tune into the old program there later on when I get home. John Delaney, FAI, all that fucking circus bullshit. Useless. Fucking useless. Crowd of fucking legalized criminals walking around. The other thing, Del boy, Irish football, it's a joke. Finished. Forget about it. There's no European Championships, no World Cups, no fucking nothing, because we're fucking useless. We went up to watching their few games, Del boy, and they're dirt. Lithuania, 1-1 draw. Latvia, 2-0 up, comes back, barely wins the game 3-2. An absolute fucking joke. But then again, Del boy, that's this country for you in a nutshell. The fucking country is a joke. From the very top, Leo Varker, Micheál Martin, Eamon Ryan, crowd of fucking assholes, the whole lot of them. And then they're on about, they're bigging up Bertie Ahern for the 25th anniversary, the Good Friday. Another fucking bollocks. Ran the country into the ground. Anyway, listen, I'm going to have to pop off. But I just wanted to come off for 2 minutes to tell you all. You can look at whatever stats you want. Fair play to you all. You're legends. Ireland football, fucking finished. Anyway, I'm out of here. I thought you all later on, legends. Thought you later.
Fair play.
Good luck.
End the stream, Del. End the stream. End the stream, Del.
Thanks, everyone. Hit the like on the way out. Let's go to the next one, Warren.
Okay, so this shows the record in international tournaments. Okay, so at the top we've got the different tournaments, and then I did a comparison with Croatia. Their population is 4 million. Ireland's is 5 million. And I did it from 1996 when Croatia had they made their international debut. The European Championship that year, they got to the quarterfinal. Ireland didn't qualify for the tournament. 1998 at the World Cup, 2 years later, Croatia got to the semi-final. Ireland failed to qualify. 2000 European Championships, Croatia failed to qualify, and so did Ireland. The 2002 World Cup, Croatia made it to the group stage of the knockout tournament, and Ireland got to the last 16. 2004 European Championships, Croatia were in the group at the finals, and Ireland failed to qualify. And then in 2006, Croatia got to the groups of the finals, and Ireland failed to qualify. 2008 European Championships, Croatia got to the quarterfinals. Ireland failed to qualify. 2010 World Cup, Croatia failed to qualify. Ireland failed to qualify. And then in the 2012 European Championships, they both got to the group stage but didn't progress. And then the 2014 World Cup, Croatia got to the group stage at the finals, and Ireland failed to qualify. 2016 World Cup, Croatia got to the last 16, and Ireland got to the last 16. And then 2018 World Cup, Croatia made it to the final. Ireland failed to qualify. 2020 European Championships, Croatia got to the last 16. Ireland failed to qualify. And the 2022 World Cup, Croatia finished third and Ireland failed to qualify. So basically, out of 16 international tournaments since 1996, Croatia have qualified for 14 of them, and Ireland have only managed to qualify for 3. So for me, it's quite damning, to be honest. It shows how, it's quite when you compare it like that, it's like leaves you thinking, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just messing around here with that. But look, it's pretty pathetic. Like, if you ask me, like out of 16 competitions, we qualify for 3. It says it all there in a nutshell. Do we not send, like, I've been saying this to people, do we not send people over to Croatia and just go, what the fuck are you doing here? You know what I mean? Or Warren, you says it's the whole sort of indoor football, the futsal thing. Is that the case?
Well, I mean, I think he's got a big part of it. But then also it's still quite a poor country. And, they were ravaged by the war and stuff like that. And maybe it's, for the young fellas there, it's a way to get out. They see it as a way to get out, like they do in these South American countries. They see football as a way to escape and make it to, to give their families security and a nice lifestyle and stuff like that. And I don't know, but I do know that futsal thing, I've seen it. I mean, I used to work with a fella who was from Serbia, and they use it there as well. And he was like massively sold on it, and he kept wanting to set up a futsal centre in London. And because it does teach kids like the technical side of the game. And if you look at players from Eastern Europe, they've all got one thing in common. They all seem to be very technically good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not
controlling the ball. Especially with control, like you look at Modric and just don't lose the ball. Well, like we had Roy Keane. Roy Keane never used to lose the ball. You know, are you buying into that, Niall? Like the whole sort of Croatia thing and comparing us to Croatia?
When I first seen the slide, Warren, I was thinking, where's 88, 90 and 94? I'm missing 88, 90 and 94. That's when we were at our peak and stuff like that. You know, we did the business in those ones and stuff like that. Came real close, you know. But I was also thinking, you're comparing Glenn Whelan here to Luka Modric. What's going on? You know, I don't think, you know what it is about it? I don't think, look, we don't have any shortage of talented players here. I think what it is that it's just, I mean, you see Evan Ferguson breaking through now at Brighton. And you see the way England has kind of stolen a few players from us. We won't get into that debate on this show and all, you know, but Ireland would be a very different team if we had Jack Grealish and Declan Rice and stuff like that, you know, and if Martin O'Neill had pulled his arse or his head out of his arse and done what he should have done, we could have a very different Ireland looking side and stuff like that. But look, we've produced brilliant players down through the years and over the years and stuff like that. What's happened is, apart from the stuff that you're going to talk about with the FAI and stuff like that, but like we've appointed managers at times as well that have done us a disservice in terms of bringing you through and sticking with the norm, and players staying in there for way beyond their sell-by date, and other players that were badly treated and stuff like that, you know. I mean, if you take, for example, one that I always talk about, Wes Hoolahan. Wes Hoolahan should have had a glittering international career, and he was done dirty by managers that were in there. There's no doubt about it. And I think there's a lot of players we could talk about like that. And you see it now, you know, whether you're Kenny in or Kenny out right now and stuff like that, you can see he's bringing through some youth at the moment, and he's trying to change the culture a little bit and stuff like that. And he's unearthing some fabulous players. You look at Evan Ferguson and there, Benny, all these players that are coming through and stuff like that. You know, they're really, really talented footballers. There's no doubt about it. So I think we can produce talent. I think at times, just the managers that were in there, Trapattoni and stuff like that, Martin O'Neill, they just never wanted to take a risk and go against the grain and bring some of the youth through when they should have. Our midfield was shocking. You know, you think it's 2023 right now, and you still have Jeff Hendrick in the team and James McLean in the team and stuff like that and all. They should be bringing players through and developing them and stuff in the right way and all. And that's where we've fallen down. It's not that we haven't had the players. It's just that we haven't had managers that were willing to go and do the hard miles to unearth these players and find them and bring them through. You know, the way in some circumstances, the way Charlton did it back in the day, he went and he found he unearthed these players. He brought in the Houghtons and all these type of players when it was against the grain and stuff like that. But look, there's a great pool of talent of players there. I coach at underage level and stuff like that. Some fabulous players. Even in our own club down here in Greystones, they appointed an agency and all to deal with players heading over to the UK and stuff like that. We even had two boys went over on trials for Norwich and various things like that and all. But there's no lack of talent in this country in terms of players and stuff like that. You can see it. Look at Evan Ferguson. I just mentioned him. He's absolutely setting the Premier League alight with Brighton and stuff like that. We have players. We need managers who are brave enough to turn around to some players when their time is done. I mean, how long did it take them to make a decision on Glenn Whelan? And no disrespect to any of those players and stuff like that. They've been fabulous servants at times and stuff like that. But they just hang on so long and so long and so long. And then you can't bring these youth through. And I think a lot of our drawbacks in some of those years and stuff like that, a lot of it is related to you know, that policy that was there and stuff like that, sticking with the norm, not being brave enough to make the changes. And then the appointment of the managers and all was a little bit crazy as well at times, you know. On another note, I would say as well, I wouldn't regard us as a rich country when you talk about Croatia being quite poor or we're quite poor or whatever it is. You know, we have our own problems here as well and stuff like that. You know, we're not filthy rich as much as some of these stories come out about us. You know, all this kind of financial irregularities and banking things and all this kind of stuff. We get hammered over here, you know. So, yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, 100%. we'll hit the next one there. Hold on, I'll just get it up. There we go.
Right. Okay. So this is the record during John Delaney's time at the helm. So 2006 World Cup, they failed to qualify. But listen, it tells its own story that they qualified for 2 major tournaments in the time that he was at the helm. The rest of them, they failed to qualify. In fact, the only time they did qualify was the 2012 European Championships and the 2016 European Championships, and all the rest of the time they failed to qualify. So, that in itself tells its own story, I think.
Yeah, Del, I think if you look at that and you analyse that slide, if you remember that 2006 up as far as 2012, that's kind of, the beginning of the banking crisis and the burst of the Celtic bubble and all this kind of property bubble and all that kind of stuff. So the country was in a really, really bad place as well, if you remember that in terms of our economic outlook and stuff like that. And you'll see as we come out of that, which is similar to what happened, if you remember, if you think of the Bertie years and stuff like that, when we were qualifying, if you look at 88 into 90, 92, 94, that's when the economy was starting to recover. 88, we were in a terrible place to the point where we were really reliant on football and the success of football on the back of Jack Charlton to actually lift the country out of the doom and gloom and the economic doom that it was going through. And that's what's happened there as well. If you look from 2012 onwards, we've kind of stuttered a little bit, but there has been some improvement. That's when the country started to recover, 2012, where it came out of all that Celtic Tiger, the burst and the boom and all that kind of stuff. So when you look at that slide, it tells that picture as well. And your sporting endeavours will always follow, generally, your economic climate and stuff like that. You'll find that a lot of these countries that are now coming to the forefront and doing really well sports-wise, be it whatever sports, you'll find these are the countries now that have developed greatly and their economies have recovered and they're starting to stand on their own 2 feet and make money. They're not downtrodden and poor, and they've emerged out of this whole war thing. As I mentioned earlier, the African nations and stuff like that. Look at the explosion of football in Africa and stuff like that. Compare that, go back 20 years ago to the African nations and stuff like that, where everywhere was kind of nearly war-torn and stuff like that. They were kind of unheard of, I mean, the odd time you'd have a great Cameroon team might pop up or something like that. But that's a lot to do with that. And that's a great slide, Warren. I love that slide because you can see there, as we start to recover economically, our sport starts to recover as well. So 2012, the group stage, 2014, failed to qualify, 16 went into 16, you know what I mean? So it's a stop-start and stuff like that. But you got to remember as well, when you're comparing the European situation to the World Cup situation, it's a very different situation and so much more competitive and stuff like that as well. You have to couple that as well. Remember, if you look at the groups that we drew as well, we drew really, really tough groups, really, really tough games. Look at the group we're in now at the moment. It's a group of death. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you have to allow for that as well. We've been very unlucky at times as well. And you also have to remember, when you go back to things like the Terry Henry handball. I'm on here with 2 gunners. The Terry Henry handball and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But you have to allow for that at times as well. We've just been very unlucky where, key players have gotten injured or they haven't been available at key times, maybe trying to get to a qualifier and stuff like that. Also in matches as well, if you think about it, like we've stood up against the Portugals of this world and only in the last few minutes, a lapse of concentration and a late goal and all that kind of stuff has done us and stuff like that. But like when we're on our day and when we have our players and when we develop things rightly, we've shown we can compete with anyone on our day. Now, is Stephen Kenny the right man? Probably not. But he's in there at the moment, and look, we have to get behind him. This is the country. We have to try and support him. He's trying to do things slightly differently. It's all he can do. The association is on its knees, so you have to accept all these things and stuff like that, and you have to pull it all together and have a sensible conversation about it and stuff like that, So that's just my take on it. But Warren, hats off. Great slide. Love that slide.
Yeah.
Welcome, Andy. Yeah. I just want to make an observation about the Irish national football team. And I'm a bit worried about saying it because I think I might have the whole Irish community come after me.
We love that word, and that's all likes and subscribes and all that, so we love that.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly think that Jack Charlton didn't get the best out of the Irish team because he had Kevin Sheedy, Liam Brady, Ray Houghton, all of whom were good with the ball at their feet, all midfield players, and he kept pumping the ball over the top of the midfield. And I just don't get it because if he played for the midfield with those players, I think you would have given a game to anyone.
Well, do you know, Warren, I want to back that up. I agree with you 100%. I think we got our managers sort of mixed up, right? So if I had to go back to an era and stuff like that, I'd give Stephen Kenny that 1988, 1990 World Cup team. He'd probably win a World Cup or something like that. He'd play football because that team that we had, they could play football. But what Jack used to do was Nick McCarthy, long ball, you're skipping the whole midfield and you're just expecting Niall Quinn, Cascarino, everything to score a goal. Whereas if you had, we'll say, I don't know, Jack Charlton in the Trapattoni era where we didn't have many players at that sort of disposal. Even Trapattoni said it. He goes, I don't have, you know what I mean, these players. We had Glenn Whelan, the saviour of Irish football at the time. You know what I mean? And now, like, let's see, we are coming to slides where we are sort of coming in. We're in the dark ages now, so bear with us, but we're coming into the fruit of, yes, there is light at the end of this tunnel and there's light at the end of this stream, you know? But, I agree with you, Warren.
The counter argument to that, of course, though, is that teams found it incredibly difficult to play against Ireland when they were playing that style of football. It was a nightmare. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because the counter-attack back then, especially under Jack's era, like there was no sort of going through the middle. It was just launching. So if you were sort of attacking Ireland, next thing we won the ball back, you had to get back. Your whole defence, your midfield, everything had to get back because the ball was just going to Cascarino, Niall Quinn. You know, it was as simple as that. I agree with target man.
I was a target man.
Always. Yeah, we all know that. Like, you know, always was. Like, you know, let's go to the next slide there.
Okay, so this is Ireland's record in the European Championships. So this one's a bit difficult to read. I'm not very happy with this slide. But basically what it shows is what happened when they did qualify for the European Championships, or the record throughout the history of the European Championships, and their overall record in the tournament. So there's a big period there where they didn't qualify. Then in Germany in 1988, a tournament I was at, by the way.
No way.
They came fifth, right? Because there was only 8 teams in that tournament. They came fifth, and they had a win percentage of 0.33. They won 1, drew 1, and lost 1. And they were, in my opinion, in that tournament, they were really, really unlucky. You know, I'm sure you two remember that crazy goal that the Dutch equalised with in almost the last kick of the game. And I think the ball just did some like madness and went in. But anyway, and then the World Cup. Was it the World Cup that was in Poland and Ukraine in the European Championships in 2012? They came 16th, and then in 2016 in France they came 15th, and they in the Poland-Ukraine tournament they lost every game they played, scored 1 and conceded 9. That wasn't a particularly good tournament for you guys. And then in France 2016 they got out of the group. They won 1, drew 1, and lost 2. Had a win percentage of 0.25, and then the following year, Europe 2020, the next European Championships, they didn't qualify, and then so therefore overall, the total finals record, they played 10, won 2, drawn 2, and lost 6. And they had a win percentage of 20%. And then there's one down the bottom as well, but I can't read what that says because the scroll bar's going along. But that shows, that thing at the bottom just shows, here we go. This is their overall record in the European Championships, including qualifiers. And it shows that they've got a 40% win percentage, and they get roughly 1.54, I think it is, points per game. So, I mean, that isn't, I don't think that's particularly bad, to be quite honest. No, but, it, obviously it could be better. But, that's the record at the European Championships.
Like, the way that I look at it there is, like, I think when we qualify, and I think, Niall, you touched on it earlier on, like, when we're up against it, like, recently to Germany, like, Shane Long goal, beating them in the Aviva, like, we ran Portugal close over in Portugal, where we lost, I think it was 3-2 or something like that. We were 2-0 up. Like, I think this is mainly down to the Irish players and probably the Irish fans. When we're up against it, by Jesus, we fucking pull our weight. You know what I mean? With the exception of the 2000 and the Poland-Ukraine the Euros, that was just dreadful. I don't think we even scored a goal. And that was the Trapattoni era, where, in fairness to him, we didn't really have the players then. Trapattoni's play didn't suit us. As I said, if we had
stupid appointment. It was a stupid appointment.
Stupid appointment. Yeah, it was. If we had Jack Charlton, then you could say maybe we could have nicked a win or a draw here and there, But yeah, I just think in tournaments, when the eyes are on us, we certainly do pull our weight. I personally feel that, and I was sort of talking to me boys during the week of the France game. They were there, we're going to get beaten 5-0, 6-0, 7. We're all joking about it. And I says, yeah, I understand that. But when we're up against it, we can pull results out. And that France game, they battered the Dutch 4-0. Battered them. Van Dijk was on the team. The play, all these fucking players on the team. But we brought them to Dublin, and they were blessed coming out. They were high-fiving and celebrating on the pitch, getting off at the end, because we should have got at least a draw out of that. Would you agree with that, Niall? Or
Yeah, I suppose the thing to take from it is our backs are always against the wall. We're generally, it's very unusual we go into an international game, especially a competitive one, where we're not up against it. We're always up against it. And we're generally the underdogs. But if you look at how we fared out, and you look at those moments against Germany, against Holland with McAteer or whatever it was, and you look at the teams we've come up against, look at those, as Warren said earlier about that Dutch team as well that knocked us out that time. Go back and look at the quality that's in that Dutch team back then. All top players playing at top European clubs at the time and stuff like that. And, we've always been a kind of a sprinkling of quality players with a bunch of lads who put in work rate. And that's how we kind of work around our team and stuff like that. But sometimes we've just come up against teams. Like, look at that performance the other night against France, and look at how we pinned them in the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes when we went for it. You know what I mean? And this is a team that's like, these are world champions and stuff. And Kylian Mbappe on the pitch, who probably earns more money in a year than what most of those Irish players will earn in a career. You know what I mean? And you look at the way these players have developed and stuff like that, and all up against that French team. And we've come up against bigger teams and better teams and stuff like that and all. So I think sometimes what we do is we play it down a little bit. I think the appointment of Trapattoni, I think that was the time to bring in a manager to start kind of changing that culture and bringing through that youth that I spoke about and stuff like that. And he was never open to that. Never open to that. I always questioned his appointment when it went in that, we don't need a manager to come in to play negative football. We can fix that up all on our own at times, the way we do things. You know what I mean? We don't need a manager to drop his negativity on top of the negativity at times that already exists there, And I just think that's part of it. But I think, look, if you want to take anything out of this and you look at all the stats in the world, Harry Kane the other day or a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, broke the England record. Okay. Look at Harry Kane's record in international football, right? And the great England teams that he's played in against some of the most easiest groups that England have ever been drawn against. And compare that record to Robbie Keane. Have a look at Robbie Keane's international record and who he has come up against and had to play against when we weren't really ranked heavily at all. We were in the third tier or the fourth tier. So we were always up against two top teams when England were sitting top 5 in the world or whatever it was, getting those decent draws because of rankings and stuff like that. Robbie Keane's record at international level makes an absolute sham of Harry Kane's record at international level. And that'll tell you, and that sort of blows away at times some of the arguments we have about having the talent and all this kind of stuff. There's always been talent there. It's been, I believe at times it's been mismanaged or it's been held back or it hasn't been put in when it should have. No one was willing to take that risk, to take that old dinosaur out and put that up and coming player in. And I think that's it. I think the thing about it is a lot of people are talking about Stephen Kenny. I'm not Kenny in or Kenny out. I'm an Ireland fan. But I think in the next few years, I think Ireland could rise back up again. I think a lot of that talent that's in there now that's starting to come through, the Evan Fergusons, the boys in midfield, all the good stuff they're doing at the back. Look at the season Nathan Collins was having till he went out and got injured and had to come back in. He was absolutely fantastic for Wolves earlier on in the season and stuff like that. There's talent there. Look at Bazunu. I know you look at his career at Southampton and stuff like that. They look like they're on the cusp of relegation. Is anyone putting that at Gavin Bazunu's door? I wouldn't have thought so. He's been man of the match even when they've got slapped up 4-0 and stuff like that. It should have been 8-0 if it wasn't for Gavin Bazunu. Look at Caoimhín Kelleher, who let's call is the number 2. He's probably the top number 2 goalkeeper in the Premier League at the moment. Comes in, always does a fantastic job. I know he was a bit iffy at this international break, but again, he hasn't kicked the ball. He hasn't played. He doesn't get in when Alisson is there and stuff like that. So there's players there and there's players coming through. It takes time. International football comes in cycles, you know what I mean? Let's think about it logically. If Harry Kane finishes up for England and his cycle is finished, who's coming through? Who's going to take Harry Kane's mantle? You know what I mean? It's a difficult one. It's not easy, and you have to bring those players through. And let's see what happens, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's probably comment of the night, and I will use that myself with the Robbie Keane thing, you know, with Harry Kane, definitely. We'll go to the next one.
So this is going to be about the World Cup, right? So Ireland's first ever appearance at the World Cup came in Italy 1990. They got to the quarterfinals and they finished 8th in the tournament. And they won. They didn't win any games. They drew 4 and lost 1. And then the World Cup in the United States, they got to the round of 16, finished 15th in the tournament and had a win percentage of 25%. And then they qualified the next time at Japan and South Korea and made it to the round of 16. In a game, I think, when they played that game against Spain in the round of 16, I thought they were unlucky. They got knocked out on a penalty shootout. And again, they had a 25% win percentage. But I have to say, from my own perspective, I remember the World Cup in the United States. And before that tournament, I remember watching Ireland go to Germany and they destroyed the Germans in Germany. They won, I think, 2-0. Yeah. And I was so impressed with them. I actually went to the bookies and put on a £10 bet for them to win the World Cup.
Jesus.
The person in the bookie said to me, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm absolutely."
Was it your man behind the bookies must have been Irish here, mate? You fucking sure?
Exactly. But I did honestly. After the game, I went to the bookies and put a £10 bet on them to win the World Cup.
Well, I just
impressed with them.
Yeah, just on that slide, I think I think that's just sort of highlighting what me and Niall were just sort of saying there about, like, you know, the Irish when we come up with big teams and big competitions and stuff like that. You know, like, you know, I reckon we're okay in competitions. You know, there's other teams, bigger teams out there that are absolutely fucking useless in competitions. You know, it's look at the Dutch, the French. Now, I know they won World Cups, Europeans and all this stuff, but what I'm saying is they have fights with each other. You don't know what team is going to turn up. But with the Irish team, when they're in a tournament, majority of the time, we know they'll turn up and we know they'll give an honest, good effort at it, you know. And we'll go to the next slide there because I know there's a few we need to rally through. So do you want to elaborate on this?
This one, I thought I'd give you the chance to talk about what happened with John Delaney and Lansdowne Road and what he did with Lansdowne Road and the Aviva. So I'll pass it on to you, Del Boy.
Yeah, like, look, come here. The whole thing when we were sort of, were we going to build a new stadium? Was it going to be a revamp of the Lansdowne Road? Are they going to do the Aviva Stadium? The Bertie Bowl was mentioned, you know, moving the stadium. They kept it where it was. That's the old Lansdowne Road there. And they changed it to the Aviva. Yeah, look, you know, it's a good stadium. I do like it, but it's just the back end of that goal wrecks me head. Absolutely destroys me head every time I look at it. You know, it could have been so good. And the reason why if you see in the back of one of the goals, it's just gone right down and there's only a few at the back of the goal. And that's because of the residents in the area. You know, this is all comes down to, I think, is bribery money, whatever. Like, you know, not just in football, not just about John Delaney, but about the Irish government in a whole. It was supposed to be out, I'm thinking, Blanchardstown, out sort of that way where there would have been, let's say, there's a motorway beside it, the M50 beside it, like, you know, you've in and out and stuff like that. But yeah, the Aviva, look, I like the Aviva, like, you know, it is, say, the home of Irish football, but I just think they made a balls of the stadium. I really do. What do you make of the Aviva, Niall?
Yeah, it's kind of that end is very, very disappointing. It's just, and you know, and look, I get it as well if you're a resident around that, because if you're familiar with the Aviva as well, there's a huge residency around that and stuff like that. I mean, you only have to watch Ken on RTA on a Sunday night to see the residency all around the Aviva and stuff like that. But that end especially, like, and if you are living there and you're living there all your life and you don't fancy this big, huge stadium being put there on your back door, in your backyard and stuff like that, I kind of get it as well, you know what I mean? I do really miss Lansdowne. I love that picture, Warden. I stood on that terrace as a schoolboy. Del, we used to have the big inflatable bananas. Remember back in the day, the big inflatable bananas? What we used to do, Del, we used to go to the schoolboy matches and you get a half day off school. The tickets were like about £3. And what we used to do after the game, we'd go up to UCD, and you know the big lake in the middle of UCD? We'd be going around that lake on the bananas like canoes, and the security guards would be chasing us out of UCD and all. It was crazy times.
And here, do you know what, Niall? I used to be always like, because I'm originally from Roscommon, so when I was on the telly, and I was there, where did they get them bananas? I'd love to have one in the stable. I was there, where the fuck do you get them?
There used to be about 100 of us going around on that lake in UCD on these bananas like canoes, and security couldn't get near us because they couldn't get into the lake. It was crazy.
Oh, that's excellent. That is
great memories. Really miss Lansdowne, and Lansdowne really was a fortress. Look, I'm a Liverpool fan, and we talk about Anfield and the atmosphere and all. The atmosphere in Lansdowne Road on an international night was just absolutely phenomenal. We always fancied it was the 12th man for us. We always fancied it every single game. If we had you at Lansdowne, the amount of top teams and top talent, go back and look at your history, the top class, world class players that played in Lansdowne that we made at times look very ordinary. history writes itself. You know what I mean? It was absolutely incredible, and it was a
Yeah.
shame. But do you know the whole thing, the move to the Aviva and stuff like that? It was if you're ever in college and you want to do a thesis on marketing failure, the Aviva is that one. That Vantage Club that they sold to people and all was an absolute joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At a time when the country was on its knees and no one had a washer, and they were trying to get you to spend, here's your box and your executive suite and all this kind of thing, and it's for the paltry price of 100 grand or 150 grand, and people couldn't pay their mortgage. Banks were turning keys in people's houses and stuff like that. Talking about an absolute disaster. Absolutely. Now look, the Aviva, most of it is pretty good. That end lets us down, you know. And really, if that was the way it was going to be, really, they should have looked at something different, maybe, and stuff like that. But the history in that Lansdowne Stadium is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Like, as I remember, it was the first ever game that like a professional football game that I ever went to was actually down the schoolboy end, the opposite end for people that don't know the Aviva, where it is. I my first ever professional football game going to, and I remember walking up with my brother, because we were with a load of, like, you know, we went with our school or something like that.
Yeah,
and I froze. I just froze. I looked and I went, oh my God, the grass is like a carpet. The stadium and it was just wow. It was just unbelievable. And like that Lansdowne Road, like old school. I was only talking to it today to a guy in work, and I love the old school grounds. Highbury, you know, you're in on top of the players. There's no hiding. You cannot hide when you're on that field. If you can't hide, if you have a bad game, the fans will fucking let you know. If you're not putting 110% in, you'll know. And Lansdowne Road was one of them grounds. Absolutely.
You could nearly reach out and trip players with your arm. You were that close. Running up the wing. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Lansdowne was just phenomenal.
Or in your case, throw your banana out at them. You would have knocked them out.
When I was doing these slides, and I was watching the videos, I heard a lot of complaints about the Aviva from rugby fans and football fans saying that it's impossible to get an atmosphere there. Whereas at Lansdowne Road, it was a lot easier to get an atmosphere at Lansdowne Road than it was at the Aviva. So, I mean,
I'd agree with that.
It's all very well good having these beautiful looking stadiums, but if you can't like create an intimidating atmosphere, you might as well not bother, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad down that end, Del. If you look at a rugby player trying to kick a conversion, and down that end, if it's during the day, the post, you can't even see the post with the daylight coming through and the backdrop and everything. It must be unbelievable trying to kick a penalty or a conversion. It's just it just looks crazy. I seen it just last time there when we were playing against England, it was, or something like that. That kick. And your man's trying to kick. You can't even see the posts on the telly. It's mad.
Where's the ball gone?
Yeah. Into the old gasworks.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one.
Right. Here we go. I heard some things about this Vantage Club, and it was basically, I believe, a scheme that people could sign up for, and where you could get prepaid for tickets at Ireland football matches or something. But the problem was it was difficult because they never knew how many home fixtures they were going to have from one year to the next or something. But I'll let you two have a chat about it because I don't really know the full story about it. But I know there was a big controversy about this Club Ireland and this Vantage Club thing.
Yeah, Niall, you sort of elaborated on it there. Do you want to just sort of go into it there just a small bit?
Yeah, this was kind of this. They wanted you to become part of a club and, you know, book out your football fandom for the next 10 or 20 years or whatever it was, nearly buying a share in the place kind of thing. This was the kind of thing that you see maybe they launch in rich countries like Dubai or Qatar or somewhere like that, where most people are absolutely filthy rich with money to throw away. I remember when they were launching this, I remember the day they were launching it, I was thinking, this country's on the verge of putting, like, we were nearly on the verge of putting an Irish kid on the front of the Troker box. That's how broke we were. You know what I mean? And like these lads were launching this club, and like no one had a washer. Like it was absolutely crazy. And I don't know who advised them. I don't know what the thinking was. I don't know why they thought that this would be so much of the funding in terms of the stadium and that they had laid it out and stuff like that. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Marketing disaster 101. I'm sure people in Trinity and UCD have wrote theses on this, how bad it was if you were doing a marketing degree or a master's or something like that. How not to market your product or what you want to do and stuff like that. It was absolutely bewildering, just stupid stuff, you know what I mean?
It was crazy, like, you know what I mean? Like people, as you says, were getting kicked out of their houses because they couldn't meet mortgage payments and stuff like that. And these guys are here asking you for 100 grand. You know, I would have loved to know, was there many that actually done it? Like, you know what I mean? Because
this was the equivalent of driving a Ford Fiesta and joining a Porsche car club. That's what this was. This was the equivalent of it. I can't put it any other way. This was lads driving a Fiat Panda being asked to join, a Daimler motoring club or something like that. It was scandalous, like, you know what I mean? Like the bread and butter and the core of Ireland football fans is lads who go out, work hard 9 to 5, earn a living, and hope that every month or every 2 months they've a few bob set aside to go out for a few points for their mates and catch a match. This was different gravy altogether. Absolute different gravy. And they were trying to, I think at the time, Del, if I remember right, they were trying to butcher in concerts as well, that they were going to have concerts and all this kind of thing, and the fanfare around it and all this. And then they dropped the clanger. The money involved was outrageous. The normal football fan could have never touched it, and just this is what they budgeted this stadium on,
Yeah.
Lads driving Ford Fiestas, joining Porsche clubs. Crazy stuff.
Warren, we can't even express that anymore. Like Niall hit the nail on the head there. Fiesta with your Porsche club. Let's go to the next one.
Right, so here we go. Basically, I heard that they were losing loads of money at the Aviva, and they were losing money hand over fist because they went in with the Irish Rugby Football Union and the Irish government to build this thing. And they had to pay back so much money each year or month or something to pay for the construction of it. But it was more money than what they were getting in. And I think they were losing millions and millions of pounds a year for the construction of this thing. I don't know the figures, but this is what I found out, and that's why I put about the fact they were losing money at the Aviva, because I just thought this is crazy. They must have known that they weren't going to make money on this. So why would you then agree to go ahead with it and do it if you knew that you couldn't afford to do it? I just found it absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's like the whole sort of, I'll buy a house with my best friend that I've been friends with for years, and we'll just work it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
The IRFU are loaded, and they always had the money and have the money. You know what I mean? And like the FAI would have just got so many games in the year that they could pay this. You know what I mean? But it just wasn't enough. It was crazy.
See, because the thing was that the point the person made in the video was that it was all right for the Irish Rugby Union organisation because they could guarantee that every year they were going to have X amount of games, so they knew how they were going to fund it. Whereas it wasn't like that with the FAI. They couldn't. There was no way for them to know that. So that, and I just thought, this is bonkers. It's like if you went and bought a house knowing that you couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. Why would you do that?
Warren,
this is absolutely crazy.
this is part of our Irish culture, if you like. When we take on these big projects, first of all, no one is held accountable to manage the project and the cost of those projects. It's happened on every single project in this country. Just look at the Children's Hospital, an absolute debacle. And this was the same. No one managed this. The budget escalated. Contractors who have contracts in place and stuff like that will just put you over a barrel, all that kind of stuff. And you got to remember the climate in this country at the time. Banks were throwing money at people at times at the start of this project and stuff like that. I'll give you a little personal story, lads, to back this up. I went into a bank one time and I was going on I deal with I won't mention the bank, of course, but I was going on I used to go on holidays to Florida and stuff like that. I had my own business at the time, and the bank called me in one time and they turned around to me and they said, Niall, you go to Florida so much with the family, would you not buy a house over there? We'll give you 350 grand if you want to buy a house in Florida, right? This is what they said to me. Del, this was 2006. Why do you hear this? 3 months later, Del, they called me in for another meeting. 3 months later, and they told me that they needed to half my overdraft because the banking had contracted. They needed to half my overdraft, my banking overdraft for my business. 3 months after they offered me 350 grand at a very low rate to buy a house in Florida. Now, there's a personal story for everyone. This is what this country was about. This country is absolute cowboys, Wild West, and shysters from top to bottom. And that's what's going on. And the thing about this was Bertie and the boys, Delaney, the FAI, all these guys wanted to leave this trophy legacy that they could pin themselves on and go, there's our landmark there. They were only short of putting statues for these boys outside this stadium. Don't forget that until everything unraveled. And that's the Warren, that's the background to it. But there you go, chap. There's a personal story to explain the atmosphere in this country at that time. Unbelievable. Absolutely, DJ. Right before the housing crash, and even right up to the housing crash, just before the crash, Warren, they were throwing money out like that. You could have turned around and told the banks you wanted to build a kennel in your back garden. They throw 200 grand at you and they wouldn't even ask you for anything. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
Yeah, 100%. We'll go to the next one. Before Niall thinks about buying a gaff in Florida again.
Never.
So the thing is, the European Championships came in 2020 and Ireland failed to qualify for it. And there was a big thing with this as well, because they were supposed to be hosting 3 games, because if you remember the European Championship finals in 2020, it wasn't based in one country. It was all around Europe, and different cities were going to be hosting different games in the finals. And Ireland had been given, the Aviva Stadium was going to host 3 of these games. And then because they failed to qualify for the finals, UEFA suddenly then decided to take, I think I'm right in saying it was the reason they decided to take the hosting of these games off them. I might be wrong, but I think that's what the story was. But do you know, guys, do you remember something like that happening, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was part of it as well. But I think there was a history there as well. Wasn't Delaney and Blatter wouldn't have been the best of mates either as well at times and stuff like that and all. And you know, as we say, you know, Del, don't we always say shit doesn't fall up, it falls down.
Yeah.
And that's why some of these decisions are made and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But it just I think everything that involved out of that FAI situation and stuff like that from top to bottom, and you know, you've people there turning around saying, oh, we've no idea. We couldn't believe this was going on and all this kind of stuff. Man, that whole situation there, you know, some of the stuff that was going on, it's just unbelievable. Beggars belief. 300 grand a month being spent on credit cards and stuff like that. No.
It gets Lord. There's more coming. This is just touching the tip of the iceberg here. Right, so this is where it starts getting a bit crazy. The cost cutting that was introduced at the FAI, and then people lost their jobs, and he was at least, he was going to come to something in a minute showing his salary, but on the pig there, you'll see it says debt free by 2020, and then on that little book it said debt free by 2020, because the stuff that I saw was John Delaney was running around, and every opportunity he had, he kept coming out with this phrase, debt free by 2020. And that was what he was building. Apparently, he was building his whole thing on that. He wanted to make sure that the FAI was going to be debt free by 2020, but obviously it didn't quite work out that way. So this is the financial issues. Okay, his annual salary in 2010 was 400 and something odd thousand, and then in 2011 it went to 400,000 euro, and then this means it was being paid more than the president of the United States. I just find that absolutely unbelievable that the man was picking up a salary greater than that of the most powerful man on the planet. He was paid more than twice the Ireland's prime minister, and he was paid £250,000 more than the chief executives of Spain and Italy's FAs, right? And then this is the mad thing. The expenses claim, his rent allowance was reportedly worth €3,000 a month. He was paid a reported £316,000 in legal fees relating to a defamation suit regarding the 2016 Rio Olympics ticketing scandal. He's alleged to have received an estimated €200,000 in unspecified legal fees, and he's also reported to have earned over €1 million in the last 5 years of his tenure as the FAI chief executive in personal expenditure. I mean, that slide in itself is just a litany of financial mismanagement of the highest order, and for me, I just think it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, I don't know if Ireland's got an organisation that looks into corporate fraud and whatnot, but that case should have gotten to the highest in the land, and he should be sitting in a prison. If not sitting in a prison somewhere, he should be banned from having an office of a chief executive in any company ever again, because he's absolutely outrageous. Who the hell authorised him to have a salary that high? Like,
he did.
You know, more than the president of the United States, twice that of the Irish prime minister.
Yeah, but
bigger than the chief execs of the Spanish FA and the Italian FA. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Warren, you see, if you think that's bad, don't ever dig into our government and look at our ministers, because most of our ministers are paid more than the president of the United States. So this is not an FAI thing. This is not a sport thing. This is not a football thing. This is an Ireland thing. Don't even get me started. That's for one of your other shows, Warren, that you do. Have a look at the Irish political situation.
Oh.
You know the thing about this, Warren? The funny thing about it, correct me, Del, if I'm wrong, you know the rent allowance that he was getting? You know, Warren, that I think that was for, like, was that not for where his girlfriend was staying?
That
wasn't even for where he was staying, Warren. That wasn't even his address, as far as I know. And the other one that I seen today, which was an absolute classic, I don't know whether you have it on the slide. They picked up a tab for him in America. He was staying in the Ritz-Carlton, and they picked up a tab. $8,000 was the hotel bill, because you were able to order hang on, get this, you were able to order a custom pillow for your room.
Fuck off,
Warren, what you have on that slide there is absolute tip of the iceberg.
Mate, listen, when I used to work in the Irish community in London, right? I worked for a company called Irish Centre Housing. One night I had to go to the Irish Embassy to pick up, to meet the Irish ambassador, pick up an award and whatnot. And the toilets there, right? In the bathroom, everything was gold plated. Like the taps, the toilet seats, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Gold plated. And this was inside the Irish Embassy.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, and you have to pick up on this point as well, if any of us or anyone in the chat was working in an organization where we didn't have a CFO or an accountant taking us to task, and we could stay in the Ritz, and as Acer said, stay fine dining in the Shelbourne Hotel, give ourselves pay rises and bonuses, get away with all this kind of stuff. Del, talk to me. We'd be at it, wouldn't we? We'd be at it. Because no one controls us. No repercussions. Walks away, gets a golden handshake, see you later, all this kind of thing. If you're not being controlled and you have access to the financial situation, that happens here, Warren. Week in, week out at corporate level in Ireland. We are absolutely rotten to the core. It's the shenanigans of us, I think it is, Del. You know it, lads who work for themselves now and stuff like that. I'll just put that diesel receipt in. I'll just put that weekend hotel in. I was at a conference. It's rampant. It's rampant. It's a thing that we do. And I beg anyone in the chat to tell me if you were working for a company that didn't take you to task on your expenditure and you could stay in the Ritz-Carlton in New York for $8,000 and get your custom pillow. One of you tell me who's not doing it. I'm there. I'm partying. I'm in Times Square. I'm going down to all these clubs. I'm living it up. And if someone else wants to tell me that they wouldn't do it, please tell me. You know what I mean? And what happened was I fell asunder because the finances contracted, COVID, all this other stuff. He got found out, and everyone else turned around and wanted to unload and go, sure, we didn't know. Show me an accountant that doesn't sign off on putting a hotel bill into a set of accounts for an organization. And everyone coming around, we had no idea. Apparently, I read an article today when we were coming onto the show. He used to go into monthly meetings. He'd have a monthly board meeting, right? And he used to deliver a report that was 30 pages long. And one of the pages would talk about finances, how we were quite tight, and all this kind of thing. The other 29 pages was all the detail about where he traveled, all the different associations he met, how he was spreading the word of the FAI and marketing the organization and doing deals and all this kind of thing. And they're all sitting at a board level. He sold them all a story month in, month out while he was living this lifestyle. And not one person turned around and go, John, $8,000 in the Carlton, the Ritz-Carlton, what was that about? And what's the story with the custom pillow and all this? And not one of them said it. And then afterwards, they all turned around and go, was nothing to do with me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
They're all rotten to the core, every one of them. And every one of them were doing it as well. It just so happened that his name is pinned on it. This is unbelievable, some of the stuff that came out. Got a board meeting every month, 30-page document he delivered. I went to visit the Football Association of Bangladesh, gives you a 29-page dossier on it. And by the way, we're up shit creek here, boys, with money. We might need to do something. And he's off doing all this. Come on. I tell you, what a man.
Unreal.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I had it before, guys. Another personal story. I worked in a company 20 odd years ago. I'll say 30 odd years ago, so people don't realize which one it was. I won't mention it. But we brought in a guy. A guy came in to manage the company. The CEO got sacked, and they brought in a new CEO who came down. I was the operations manager at the time. And he came down to tell me my job. I'd been with the company 7 years, knew it inside out, grew it by about 30% in my time as operations manager. They found out afterwards that the guy that they hired as the CEO, who came in with a CV saying he had a master's in business, and when they checked it out, he didn't even have a master's in business. It was fake. This sums it up, lads. I'm telling you, this is at every level. Don't even get me started on John Delaney. That's tip of the iceberg stuff.
Yeah. I agree with you. I could tell ghosts here fucking all day long with stories myself. I'll just tell you a quick story. It's basically there was I won't even mention it. It was a government body, we'll just say, and they were on a Christmas party, and they had the Christmas party in the office. Okay, so what they done was they had loads of drinks there and caterers and food and everything like this, and then we'll just use fabricated names here. Mary and Johnny got a bit too drunk or whatever, and the two of them went off and they went to the restroom, and Johnny fell into Mary, and basically they were caught in the act, and they were both told, oh, well, you fed us with drink, you supplied this, she was stressed out, I was stressed out, and I was just comforting her. Both of them got a promotion in their job. These work in a government building, and I know for a fact. So basically, Johnny and Mary got fucking stuck into each other. He was revealing the stress, relaxing her, everything like that, and the two of them get promoted for it. There you go.
Warren, did you get the slide on the Strictly Come Dancing event that they did for the John Giles Foundation?
Oh God, no.
They paid a model 30 grand to show up and dance with John Delaney as part of the show. Don't get me started, man.
Oh, stop.
Listen, if we didn't love football so much and we didn't hate him over what he did to the sport in this country at grassroots and stuff like that, most people would sit back and think this guy's a hero.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable what he did. It's just...
I'd say probably only up to the last 5 years, people did think, oh, he's done well for the country, the Aviva Stadium, this, that. No, I don't fucking think so.
Buying gargle for the fans and pubs and stuff like that.
That's right.
And everyone cheerleading him. John, isn't he a great man? He bought us all points when we were away, wherever it was we had qualified for and stuff like that. Yeah. He's a top lad, came in here, picked up the tab on the FAI credit card. Jesus Christ.
It terrifies me, Lord. The damage that man could have caused if he'd not been in government. Like,
he practically was, Warren. It wouldn't surprise me if that man was in the office for the banking crisis.
Elaborate projects
exactly.
Going on, and there would have been no thought about whether the country could afford it or anything. It would have just been spending money hand over fist. And Warren, then just go, well, the next lot can pay for it.
Warren, this guy used to go into Ireland fan parks when we were away at games. Boy, everyone gargled, and they were body surfing him around the square of cities. This man was like, he was put on a throne and carried around. This was like the prophet. This was like the prophet John Delaney, the savior of Irish football. This lad was unreal. But listen, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We haven't even spoke about his old man.
That's right, and I was only looking at that myself. That is coming up. But no, are you all ready to go on for another few minutes, or are you stuck for time?
I can stay on for 2 more minutes, and then I have to.
Yeah. Will we go to the next slide? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is just a summary of what happened. He said, during my time at the FAI, I conned them out of between 9.5 million and 10.6 million, because that was my estimate about how much he managed to get out of the FAI while he was there. And then that thing about the debt-free by 2020, I just heard this thing that he kept repeating this time and time and time again. And then it was always being quoted as well about how much he loved grassroots Irish football. But the damage that a man's done to grassroots Irish football is just, in my opinion, it's immeasurable. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And so this was the ranking of the Irish football team in December 2004 when he came in. They were 12th. And then by March of this year, Ireland were ranked 47th in the world. So, and then we've got a slide here showing all the results this season for the Irish national team. And it's not great reading, I have to say. And then, so then this is all the rankings of the Irish team whilst John Delaney was at the helm. So it went from 2004, they were 12th, and then it went, its lowest point was in 2014 when they went down to 70th. And then after that, they started to pick up again. And finally, in 2018, it went to 33. But currently, they're 42nd in the world. So, and under his reign, this was Ireland's record in international football. They played 198 games, won 74, drew 69, and lost 55, scoring 258 goals and conceding 198, which means that they had a win percentage of about 37%. And this was the World Cup squad when they went to Japan and South Korea.
Warren, just want to interrupt you there, lads. I have to jump off for a show, right? Stellar job, Warren, on the slides and stuff like that. The only way I'll sum it up, lads, for you before I go, just to jump off. I think he started out with the right intentions. I think he became too powerful. He wasn't controlled. There was no taking the task on anything he did. And I think when that happens, what happens is you keep on pushing it and pushing it and pushing it to the point there where it goes out of control, gets worse and worse and worse. And that's what happens, you know. It's just one of those things. It's a sad bit of our history, really, in terms of football, considering some of the fantastic moments that we've had. And it's sad it's sad, really, that's what he's going to be remembered for, you know. Really, really sad, really. It could have been so much more, really, if he had been a bit more honest and upfront about stuff and all, you know. Lads, I got to jump, right? Really appreciate being on and stuff like that. Really loved it. Good crack and all, as always. Gents, don't forget we have a big weekend coming up as well. I'll be talking about you, man, before Sunday. There's no doubt about that. I have a preview tomorrow at 8 o'clock, of course, on the upper tier. Shankly Sessions. Liverpool versus Arsenal. Anfield. 4 Super Sunday coming up. Lads,
exactly, and please do, people, just drop. If you're new to Niall's channel, just the upper tier, just check it out. And Niall, if you wanted, even just drop it in on the chat there, and so people can just click on and drop in and just hit a subscribe. Please do. Niall's good. He does absolutely quality content. Please do check him out. And Niall, best of luck at your show. Thanks a million for dropping in, mate. Really do appreciate it.
Warren, tops as always on the slides, my friend. Great job. Chat to you on Saturday, Warren. Cheers, lads.
Pleasure.
Take care, Niall. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Niall.
Absolute gentleman. No, and like as it says there, please do check his channel out and subscribe. Hit him the subscribe if you're new to his channel and all that. Warren, do you want to just we'll go on to the next slide there.
Yeah. So basically, what I was doing, I was going to compare the squad that went to Japan and South Korea with the current squad, because this one, you can see like almost the whole squad, they came from Premier League clubs, and there's maybe a sprinkling of Championship players, and there's one fella, I think, there was all Premier League players and like maybe 3 or 4 Championship players, and then this current squad that they've got, it's mostly Championship, and there's one who plays in the Spanish La Liga. There's about 4 or 5, I think, who play in the Premier League, and most of them are Championship players. So that really like shows you the deterioration in the standard of the players over the period that he was in charge. And because the thing is, it would have taken time for the chaos to have an impact on the national team, and I think that's that shows, because that the current squad, and most of those players, they're in that squad. Most of them are all like championship players, whereas before it was mostly Premier League players. So yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, like I'm just frustrated, like, by the sort of, well, no, like what Niall was saying there. He is a nice fella, like not a nice fella, but he got caught up in all this shit. He should never have been put in his position he was in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's an Irish fan. He's an Irish football fan, and he tried his best, but he just made a fucking balls of it. You know, with the appointments as well there that we just have there, I'll actually just show again, like the Trapattoni, a big name manager, managed world-class sides. He just did not suit Irish football. You know, the Martin O'Neill. I'll let you talk about Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane. Did you think it was going to work for the Irish at the time? You'd known him as you're a Celtic fan.
Yeah, I mean, Martin O'Neill, I thought was a sound appointment because I do rate him. I do. I mean, maybe not now because probably the game's moved on too much, and you know he's been out of it for a while. But then I thought it was a good appointment because I thought he was a quality coach. But then you have to look and think about the players he had at his disposal, but the two of them, him and Roy Keane, I thought was a good partnership. And when you used to hear him talking about football as well, when he was on TV, he always come across as being very knowledgeable and you know, and obviously when he was a player, he's probably playing under the greatest manager that in English football history, in Brian Clough. So you know, he was clearly extremely intelligent, and he had an excellent track record at club football. He did a fantastic job at Celtic, and Roy Keane as well. His record in. He gets sort of berated for his record in club football. I don't think it was that bad, to be honest.
No. Yeah, Keano, he kept Ipswich up. He got Sunderland promoted, you know.
So, you know, I just think the two of them at the time, that, you know, they were working under very difficult conditions, and I think they did a fairly okay job. And I rate Martin O'Neill very highly. I remember being really disappointed when he left Celtic because he left to look after his sick wife. And, you know, he then went off and, you know, did a few other things and whatnot. But mate, he was a brilliant coach. I really, really rated him.
Yeah. No, like, just wanted Jamino here question. Considering people are hyping up this current Ireland team, Kenny, the youth, etc., and no one hyped up O'Neill's team, shouldn't that mean we should be getting better results than under O'Neill? Yeah, like, look, I think I agree with what Warren is saying. Like, Martin O'Neill didn't just turn into a bad manager. You know, I just think at the time, the team that he sort of had, there was nothing coming through at the time. Like, you know, nowadays we have, like, you know, we will touch on it, we have much more better players coming up through the youth system. And is that because John Delaney is gone and there's people in there now that know what they're doing and are, like, you know, improving the grassroots? Is that the answer? You know, Kenny is bearing the fruits of this, is he? You know, we will, like, you know, get into it, like, you know. But yeah, Warren, I have to agree with you there on that about O'Neill and Roy Keane. Like, Roy Keane, he done okay as a manager. You know, I don't want to manage an Arsenal anytime soon, but you know, he did a job at that level. And we'll go to the next slide, I suppose.
And I mean, as well with Roy Keane, he was before Ange Postecoglou came in. He was being, I think he was interviewed for the Celtic job as well. So anyway, so there was this thing was I just found unbelievable. The FAI set up a sponsorship deal with Sports Direct, okay? And this was when Martin O'Neill was managing the national team. And the deal that was done with that absolute piece of whatever at Newcastle, the guy, he destroyed Newcastle.
Yeah.
Almost. The deal that was done was that they had this sponsorship deal, and if at any point, the thing about it was apparently that if at any point Sports Direct weren't happy about it, that they could pull out, and that the FAI would have to pay them back all the money that they'd been given.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So it was a loan, and they got all their money back, right? Because they pulled out right near the end. Unsurprisingly. Do you know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. I mean, I just can't believe what the hell possessed the person who signed this off to agree to it. It's just unbelievable. That's why on that heading I decided to put sponsorship.
Yeah.
Crossed it out and put loan because it was loan. It wasn't a sponsorship at all. It was a bloody loan, and then they took the money back. So this was another thing that added to the financial chaos at the FAI. It was just unbelievable.
And that's sort of right there. It's the people who was doing the advertising deals and who's signing off on that. And it's John Delaney. You know what I mean? Two people that for that straight away, you're sacked. If you cannot understand that if you were telling me as a company, I can go and sponsor the Irish national team, and then if I don't feel anything is right here and it's not working for me, I'll take all my money back. So I'm still after gaining all of that advertising, free advertising they're after getting, which is marketing genius from Sports Direct. Because at the time as well, Sports Direct opened up a big, huge store in Dublin at the time. So it was great marketing from them. So they got so much advertising for their new store, free advertising. Let's take our money back. See us later, FAI, and we'll fucking go elsewhere. Fucking stupidity at its best. That sort of stuff winds me up now.
See, this is why I disagree with the people that are saying, it's the way the country is and whatnot. Because I used to have this argument with my ex when she was talking about Colombia and, Warren, this is the way it is and that's the way people are. I was going, no, it doesn't have to be like this. You can change and you can. Why do you have to? Because it's always been like that. Why do you have to keep doing it like that? Do you know what I mean? Just stop it and start doing things properly and holding people to account. And if they're not gonna do the job properly, fucking get them out. It's as simple as that. And this is this whole thing about it'll be all right. And no. I just find it I get really angry about it because people get really invested in their country's football team, and I just find it disgraceful that they're trampling on people's emotions and passions like that. I just find it disgusting.
Well, it all comes down to like at the start of the program when I done my intro and stuff like that, and that to me makes the hair in the back of my neck stand up. I fucking love it, you know what I mean. And then for the likes of John Delaney giving $3,000 for his girlfriend's rent or mortgage or whatever the fuck she was given. Do you know what I mean? And plus his 400 and odd grand a year pay packet. you know, you're playing with my feelings here of my country that I love, and I love to watch playing football, and you're taking all that away from me. Like, and we went through the Euros and how many competitions we've been in, and like, you know, how many we've missed, you know, and then he has to pay responsibility for it. You know, let's move on to the next one before I fucking this prick.
Now, this fella, this Dennis O'Brien, I can't remember. You're probably better off talking about it than me. But this fella, he teamed up with the FAI and John Delaney, and he was a big media mogul, and I think he owned the Irish Independent or something, and he used his influence to get John Delaney's name, like, sort of almost like it was almost like a bloody cult, where like it was almost untouchable because this Dennis O'Brien fella was like supporting him so much. But I might have got it wrong, Del Boy, but I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, come here. Do you know what? I'll leave the screen up because this fat fucking prick in the fucking middle. I'll tell you one thing, this bastard should burn in fucking hell. Because I'll tell you, what he basically started off mobile phones and all this stuff in Ireland, like, you know, back in the day, and he sold his I don't know, rights or whatever it was to mobile phones and all this crap. And that's how he made his money. So he's one of the richest people in Ireland at this stage, you know. And basically, like, he has fingers, like, you know, investments all over the world. Like, you know, for example, when he knows the Clintons really well. So when Hillary Clinton was given when she was the Secretary of State, and when she was given the job for Haiti to, like, you know, rebuild Haiti. Remember, after, was it the earthquakes or the tsunami or whatever that hit Haiti? He was given the job. Basically, he gave the Clinton Foundation a 10 million donation. Okay. And next thing, what happens? He gets the contract to supply Haiti with mobile phone services and stuff like that. I don't know how that happened, because Hillary Clinton was the person who decided, who took all that. And that's fact. That's fucking fact. So this fat fucking prick in the middle there, he then, like, obviously he's an Irish man and he's supported Ireland. So he, like Jamino asked there, how did we get Trapattoni? He was the person that wanted him. He told John Delaney, I'll pay, I think it was half his wages or 3/4 of his wages. I'll pay it. So basically, he decided what manager we get. So he was playing club football with our national team. He should be shot dead. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, mate. It's fucking shocking. It is. It's disgusting. It really is. And like the way that these people have been able to ride roughshod over the hopes and aspirations of thousands and thousands of, you know, people and their hopes and dreams, like, it's just absolutely disgusting. It really is, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Like we get nowadays in the Premier League, it's their tie and stuff like that. But O'Brien, he fucking used our country, our national team, as a tie. That was his tie. You know what I mean? Doesn't sit right with me.
No.
We'll go.
He should
have
gone
to the next one before
a Premier League side, and then he's turned the place into Delaney land. And I can't remember what this is about, but I saw this. I saw this picture, and I just thought, I've got to get this into it somehow or other. And I'm not sure what. I mean, it looks like fairly early on, because he looks quite young in that picture. Do you know what I mean?
Like the two people that were beside him, they were sort of the chief executives and all this stuff at the time, you know. And you can just see by the two on his left hand side that they just haven't a fucking clue. They really don't. They're looking, going, what the fuck is going on here? And John Delaney's just there, like, what am I even doing with him? But like no microphone in front of him at the time. What am I doing here? You know what I mean?
Wasn't his dad working at the FAI or something?
Yeah, his dad, like when John Delaney is sitting right there, right now, at that picture just there, he's the treasury of the FAI. That's what he was there. He replaced his dad in the exact same job. So, like, basically, his dad stepped down and he comes in and takes over from his dad.
Right, because he came in. I've read something or saw something saying that John Delaney got in, and when the thing with Roy Keane blew up in Saipan, he came on camera and he spoke really well. So after that, any time there was like a media event, he got thrust in front of the camera, but he was just there like as a bean counter. He worked at the FAI as like a bean counter or something. He wasn't supposed to be involved with media, but because he spoke well, they just shoved him in front of the camera. I just found it absolutely bizarre.
I should get a job in the FAI.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like madness. Do you know what I mean? He just happened to speak quite well. So they thought, right, okay, anytime there's a media thing, we'll shove him in front of the camera. I mean, it's just, you just couldn't make it up, mate. Honestly.
Exactly, yeah. 100%. John the Baptist, oh God.
So there was a film, wasn't it made by that Dennis O'Brien fella, that he paid for this film to be made about John Delaney. And I remember the guy who narrated that video that you sent me about it, saying this is a film about a guy who's the treasurer of the FAI. He's not an ex-player or an ex-manager or anything like that. He said, because if it was, yeah, okay, fair enough. The guy was a bloody treasure. Why are they making a film about him? It's just unbelievable.
I know. It's on YouTube. If you actually type that in, it is on YouTube. Like, you know, I haven't seen it yet, but I actually am gonna just try and check it out and see. But apparently, it makes him out to be the next coming of Christ. You know what I mean?
God. Do you know what I mean? Because he was running around, apparently, this Dennis O'Brien, telling anyone who'd listen that he was capable of running anything.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, that's what he said. He says he can do anything. He's just unbelievable. Well, not for me, I'll tell you.
No, exactly. You know, it's just unbelievable, Del Boy. And then, so when it started going tits up, apparently there was this story, and this was what made me think about Arsenal, right? That John Delaney hired a load of drummers to attend an Irish football game because he knew that there was going to be loads of anti him chanting at the match, so that they could drown out these people, right? And I was sitting there thinking to myself, when this Arteta thing does go tits up, because it will do at some point, it is going to go tits up. Whether it goes tits up at the end of this season or not, I don't know. But when it does, this is the sort of thing that I can imagine Arsenal doing. Like, just
they do it already.
Drums and trumpets, so that when people start kicking off, that they drown them out. It's just like, I just thought this was an absolute marketing and PR masterclass. You have to hand it to him. This is a PR marketing masterclass. And it is something that I can imagine at Arsenal doing. It's exactly the sort of stunt that they would pull. Do you know what I mean?
But Warren, they already have it at the back of the goal, and only in the last few years they've done that at Arsenal. they have a group of young fellas, and I will send you a link actually, but they're behind the goal, and there's one fella and he has a drum behind the goal. I seen it because when I go to the Emirates, I sort of sit behind them to the corner and I can see it. You know, I agree with you. This is marketing genius. This is dictatorship at its best. Dictatorship. It is. It's 100%. You know what I mean? It's
any time there's any dissent about it anywhere, they're going to say, well, what are you talking about? Look, listen to the atmosphere inside the ground and whatnot. You know, the fans are all behind him. What are you talking about? But it's because he's hired them. See, that group of young fellas that you're talking about, I know it's the Ashburton Army. But
yeah,
I don't know whether the club have instigated that. It wouldn't surprise me if they had. But I think that's probably something they, as a group of lads, have decided to do, and it's just snowballed. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was done by the club. But this was, it's definitely him. And it's a fucking marketing PR masterclass. It really is. Because your dissent, you're like stopping these people's voices or their voices being heard. And it's a sort of thing that you would have gone on in, you know, Soviet Russia or whatnot. But there as well, people would have been shot or they would have been taken off somewhere and never seen again. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's not happening. Well, I don't know. It might be. But fucking this is absolute madness. Do you know what I mean? Like hiring drummers to drown people out. I mean, fucking hell.
Oh,
it's that bad that they have to do stuff like that. It's just unbelievable, mate.
Well, this is it. Here we go.
So, do you remember this happening, Del, when there was all these drummers and whatnot at the games?
Yeah, like I behind the goal, let's say at the what Niall was saying earlier on, like about, let's say, behind one of the goals, they have like the sort of schoolboy end, and they have like a lot of very vocal fans, you know, and that's where I was when I sort of let people know of my opinion, you know what I mean? And don't give a fuck, like, you know what I mean? That's the way it is, and that's the way it was. But I think sort of when Kenny's earlier on sort of reign, when we went something like 20 odd games without winning a game, like, you know, I think that these were more popular at the game. But now that he's not changed it around, but he has these few players that are able to dig him out of a hole at the minute, let's just say. You know.
So this comment I just found absolutely unbelievable. Apparently he came out and he said that the League of Ireland was the FAI's difficult child. Now this is the fella who came out and said that he loved grassroots Irish football, and then now he's saying that the League of Ireland is the FAI's difficult child. I just find it unbelievable, Del. I mean, what's your thoughts about that?
Like, this is why one of the reasons why. Let me see. I'm trying to use my words not wisely, but just correct. I want to get this right, because I've heard this comment many a times. Like, you know, and there's Irish fans out there, and I'm not laying into Irish fans, but there's Irish fans that will, and me being one of them, by the way, I was one of them, 100%. Just used to go over to England and go to the Arsenal and, like, you know, spend me money there, and people say, well, you're mad into Irish football. What, like, you know, you're mad into supporting, like, you know, your national team. Why don't you go to the League of Ireland games and support that? And I just says, Joe, you're fucking bang on. You are right, 100%. You're 100% right. I agree with you. And that's why this season I've said to myself, you know what? I was never brought up through that because it was hard times back in Ireland, blah, blah, blah. But I'll do it for my kids. I'll bring them to games of football. to Irish League of Ireland games of football and let them come up and decide whatever team they wanted to support. I have a team. I'm not telling anyone my team. You'll have to find out. Check me vlogs out. You know what I mean? You will find out. But yeah, like, you know, let's do it that way. So I've decided this year that I'm going to go to as many League of Ireland games as I can. I'll bring the boys to as many games as they can. You know what I mean? And like, you know what, I was sort of thinking, I was a bit, probably at the time when John Delaney made that comment, I was sort of saying, yeah, I agree with him. Like, you know, it's not fucking great, you know, this blah-de-blah. But now, when going to the games, and not just going to the games, I'll back my point up here. Like, it's actually good football. And I'm not joking with you, Aaron. It's actually really, really good football. It's like watching the Premiership back in the 90s when there was tackles flying in. And like, you know, there wasn't fucking Bruno Fernandes fucking rolling on the ground, screaming, crying, and looking for people to be booked and stuff like that. Because if that happened in the League of Ireland, he would not walk off a field, and I guarantee you that. He would be on a stretcher. And he'd be knocked clean out. I'm not joking with you. Because the League of Ireland now is what football I fell in love with back in the 80s, 90s. You know, the football that you grew up with, Warren. The football that you grew to love. Not this bullshit that we're watching today. No. You know what I mean? You know, you've Bruno Fernandes holding, someone tips him off his face and he's rolling around. For Harry Kane, you know what I mean? He gets a tip in the eye. Seamus Coleman, big up Seamus Coleman. Stand over the fucking big lanky streel of piss and fucking tell him, get the fuck up, you prick. You know? But yeah, no, like at the time, I was probably in agreement with him. Oh, I didn't know anything about the League of Ireland, so I was just there. Oh, the Premiership is great and blah blah. But now that I've go to the Irish League matches, you know, it's a pretty insulting for him to say that as a problem child, because one of Ireland's hot prospects, and we've mentioned him before, Evan Ferguson, he played for Bohemians, who are playing tomorrow night. I'll be doing a live watch along, so if you're not doing anything, check it out. But Bohemians, he played against Chelsea. His first game, I think he was 14 or 15 years of age. This is no joke. He played a friendly against Chelsea. Straight after the game, Chelsea wanted to sign him. That's no joke. That's fact. Chelsea wanted to sign him when he was 14 or 15 years of age. He was playing for the senior Bohemians team, and he absolutely destroyed Chelsea. Destroyed them. And then, obviously, Liverpool went in for him. Brighton went in for him, and he used his head, and he just goes, I'm not going to Chelsea. I'm not going to go to Liverpool and just be in an academy. I'll go to Brighton, have a go there, and try and get in the first team. And the rest is history, you know. And he's just one of a lot of players who have played League of Ireland. Gavin Basuma, who's the Southampton goalie, like, you know, he went over to Man City. You know, there's loads other way I could go on mentioning here, but like, there's a pretty good standard there now. And like the League of Ireland, we can like no longer can underage kids just go over to England now because of Brexit. So what's happening is they're going to Italy, they're going to Spain, they're going to France. The English market is losing all the Irish that are going over because they can't go over until they're 18 years of age. So all these bigger teams in Europe are plucking them out and they're bringing them over there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Irish football gets on in the next 5 to 10 years. You know?
Because that comment, right? If I was an Irish fan, because of the attitude I had about going to watch football, I've watched football at almost every single level in England. I've gone from fucking watching small town football right up to the top level, tier 1 of English football, right? That comment I would find incredibly insulting. And for that comment alone, I'd want him sacked. That comment alone, because it is so disrespectful and it shows a complete and utter lack of understanding of how football works and how countries develop their talent. Every kid who plays football in Ireland when they grow up and they become they turn from being a teenager into a young man, the first team that they're going to play for, they're not going to, from the age of like 10 or 11, go and be on Man United's books or Arsenal's books or Liverpool's books or an English club's book. The first club they're going to put their foot in is going to be a team in, as Liam Brady said the other night, the hotbed of Dublin or Cork, or somewhere else in Ireland, right? That's where it's going to be. And then for him to turn around and say that the League of Ireland is the FAI's difficult child, I just find it incredibly insulting. It's just unbelievable, and it shows a complete and utter lack of understanding, because without the grassroots football in your country, you've got no football at all. It can't exist, because without it, where's the players going to come from? You have to have a strong league. You have to have like people like yourself coaching the young fellas coming through and giving them a good start in their careers, right? Because if St. Kevin's hadn't have been set up and wasn't there, how many of those young fellas would have gone on and like had the careers that they had?
Well, Evan Ferguson wouldn't be around because he came from the club that I manage.
Yeah. And then Liam Brady and all these other players that come through at St. Kevin's as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that is this unbelievable short-sightedness. And for that alone, for me, he should be sacked. He should have been sacked. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. I just seen a comment coming in here. Well said, Warren. It's the same situation with Mexico. Big up, Carlos, mate. Yeah, for me, managing a youth team, in Dublin, it's pretty fucking disrespectful. Like, this is the guy who's the top of Irish football, and he's saying that, and you're like trying to teach kids, and they're seeing this. Why is he saying that? So, like, if I go to a League of Ireland team, if you don't make it to England, you forget about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're absolutely destroying a child's dream there of actually going on to say, one day I want to, look, come here. I know. Let's go to the next one.
So this, his 50th birthday party, right? Apparently his girlfriend, partner, whoever she was, she threw a lavish party, and the FAI had to foot the bill, and it cost €80,000 for this birthday party, right?
Jesus
Christ! And this is what I'm talking about. The finance thing is going back to that again. €80,000 for a birthday, for a fella's 50th birthday party.
Fucking hell.
And this is when it all starts to unravel, right? Basically, at one point, he had to lend the FAI €100,000 out of his own pocket, right? So people were sitting there apparently saying, well, why is he lending the FAI €100,000? What the hell's going on? And the FAI then received a €50 million bailout from the Irish government. 20 of it, I think 30 million of it was just a grant, and 20 million of it was a loan. And then it's debt-free by 2020. And the FAI Chief Executive John Delaney last night insisted the FAI will be debt-free by 2020 and defended decision not to allow journalists to ask questions about the association's financial state at its most recent AGM. I mean, that smacks of a third world dictatorship, like going into like a a press conference or whatever and saying, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, you can't do this, you can't. I mean, what sort of operation is this fella running here? So that's why I put this question on there. What has happened to debt free by 2020? Do you know what I mean? It's just, mate, I just find it absolutely unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? It really is. And then, so I put on here the FAI, but every kind of key performance indicator you can think of was in a worse state when John Delaney was forced to step down than when he was appointed. I mean, that's my opinion about it, mate, but I'll let you have your say.
That sort of sums it up there. Like, you know, I think sort of Niall sort of hit, let's say, at the start of it all. He was, you know, he was a nice guy. Like, you know, he wasn't a bad guy. He just got mixed up in a lot of politics, a lot of stuff that was way over his head. And he just tried to fix it and tried to keep going. And the balls he was trying to juggle was just all over the place. And it was just, do you know what? Fuck it. Fuck everything. I'm making money. I don't give a shit. For example, his 50th birthday, the 80 grand, his not his wife, his actual girlfriend, she didn't give a shit because she knew, I'll just give the bill to them. All right, there's the bill. There you are. You know what I mean? So that's just the way it was. He was just there. Well, I'm getting away with it. Fuck it. Let's go with it. I'm going to these Euros and I'm buying drinks for fans and they're all loving me and they're carrying me around. Like, this did happen. Niall is right what he said. They're lifting him up, singing his songs, and he's loving it. So he's getting caught up in the whole, the atmosphere of the crowd and like, you know, everyone's singing his name and stuff like that. And, you know, at the end of the day, it was just really, really bad for Irish football. So bad, you know.
It was. And the question I've got for you, Del, right, it was been going through my mind the last couple of days after I'd done the slides. How much influence did that woman that he was knocking around with have over him? Like, you know, sometimes you get women, they attach themselves to fellas and they get them to do things that they wouldn't normally do. Do you know what I mean? I know that people Warren, you're fucking treading on dangerous ground there. You're talking stuff that you shouldn't be talking about. But it happens. It's a fact of life. It happens.
Like,
and
Warren, I'm
thinking, was she the driving force behind it?
Look at the bowl haircut he has there. This is back when it started, okay?
Yeah.
Right. And hold on, I'm just gonna try and, like, you know, see if I can see a picture of him here where he, like, you know, he went from being that basically to I can't find a picture. I don't even know. He's a bit better. Like, you know,
there's another one where he looks a complete and utter slime ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. He went from the bowl haircut to the gel back hair. He's like an Italian man, like, you know, really good, fresh suit, everything like that. And you're there, wow, that guy looks like, you know, if I talk to him, I'd be amazed. You know what I mean? But
exactly. Yeah. I'm sitting there and I've been thinking this. Was she the one that was behind all this extravagant expenditure and all of the fucking financial madness? Because she was saying to him, I want this, I want that, I want X, Y, Z. And the only way he could do it was by, like, funneling it through the FAI's expenditure and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it looked like she liked the good life. The pictures I've seen of her, she's like, you know, she's got this like fake orange tan and she's like got this dyed blonde hair and she's like fucking, do you know what I mean? It's just, she fits the, like, to look at her, she fits the fucking profile. But I am going to get, if I carry on this track, I ain't going to be ripped apart.
The way that I'd sum it up is, she has an expensive palate. Just put it that way. You know what I mean?
A very expensive palate.
Yeah. Yeah, look, she's a gorgeous looking woman and stuff like that. But yeah, he landed on his feet from the bowl haircut he had there back in 96 or 7 there. Yeah. Look, we'll move on before we get in trouble.
Exactly. I'll be getting you cut off. Right. So the implications of the calamitous reign of John Delaney for Irish football in general, that for me sums it up in a nutshell. That stand that's like collapsed in the middle.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
What I mean, that is his legacy. Like, stadiums falling apart, the team being ranked 47th in the world after being ranked number 12 in the world. It's just unbelievable that it's happening, like this carry on. You know what I mean?
Like, that sums it up for me 100%.
And then I don't know what this was about, the development of young players and stuff like that. That's why I put that in, because I wanted you to talk about, I thought you might want to have opportunity to talk about it, because last night I saw this video, I sent it to you, of Liam. I did a snip and I sent it to you, and Liam Brady talking about the impact that he'd had on the development of young players, because Liam spoke really passionately about it. And he said it's his fault, it's the FAI's fault. And, the young fellas in Dublin and Cork, the hotbeds, they're not coming through, and it's down to them.
Yeah, like, the thing about it is, right, like, I like, for people that don't know, like, I'm from the same club that Liam Brady is at. Now, obviously, Liam's retired and stuff like that, and like, he's not around the club every now and again, or like, I never actually see him around. The last time I seen him was in the Emirates, and I done the interview with him. But like, Liam is, and from what people that know him in the club, he's just passionate about, like, younger kids coming through, and he wants them to see them, like, not just Irish kids, any kid, like, he just, like, he enjoys watching them go through the ranks and get up there, and for example, Saga, for example, would have been, like, Jack Wilshere, like, all these players that he would have, let's say, had an influence in their career. Like, Saga was started when Liam Brady was the in charge of Arsenal Youth Academy. So, like, Smith Rowe, all these players, Reece Nelson and all that we're getting today, like, Liam Brady was started all of for them, like, So that's what I'm saying, not just for the Irish kids, but, like, for, like, any kid that, well, players that have gone through Arsenal now through the Hale End. And the Hale End, by the way, Liam Brady, hello. Without him, I don't think that place would be that successful. So that just shows you how much that Liam Brady loves seeing the youth coming through. And when I interviewed him that time, and I told him about Zach, my young fella that played for St. Kevin's, he basically was just there, right, fuck you, Dale, I want to talk to Zach. And he was talking to him like an adult. Went down to him, how are you getting on? What position are you playing? Are you enjoying it? Are you scoring goals? Are you defending? Are you winning? Are you losing? Like, asking him questions like that. And that just shows you the type of person he is and what it means to him to see this. And as an Irish footballer himself, he obviously wants to see his Irish team do well, and it frustrates him. Like, he'd be like me, it frustrates the life of him, because he knows how grassroots football is the most important thing to any national team. And for it to be messed around the way John Delaney and the FAI have done to the Irish is a fucking joke, and that's why I'm sure if he's seen this, he'd hit a fucking like up on it. You know what I mean?
That's what I was trying to say when I was going on about that comment about it being the League of Ireland being the FAI's difficult child. That was what I was trying to say, and I didn't say it very well, but you hit the fucking nail on the head. It is the most important thing. And that was why I went off on the deep one about the Scottish FA and the coaching and all the rest of it, because the Croats, they're obviously doing something right with the coaching of their young fellas. But you look at the bloody players, it's like a conveyor belt. Like all these fucking players coming through, and yet both of our countries can't seem to be able to do it. And I just don't fucking get it, Del. I don't. And I just find it absolutely staggering. And you just hit the nail on the head. You said everything I wanted to say.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's frustrating, you know, and we'll have to do a Scottish version of this as well. And
right, so let's move on. The financial mayhem that John Delaney oversaw means that the League of Ireland struggles to get the funding it needs to be able to provide proper facilities, which are anywhere near adequate, never mind acceptable, right? And it also means that youth development in Ireland struggles to get the funding it needs to be able to develop the upcoming youngsters who are looking to be the next Roy Keane and Liam Brady, so that they can have access to the facilities and coaching that they need and deserve to give them the best possible chance of making their dreams come true. And is there cause for optimism? See, and that, for me, in a nutshell, is why I get so angry about it. Because when I was doing this, I was thinking about Zach and what he's doing at St. Kevin's and whatnot, and thinking that fucking John Delaney fella, you know, the chaos that he oversaw could make the difference between a young fella having a successful career in football and not. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's that straightforward. It could be the difference between a young fella having a really successful career in football and not, because they haven't got access to the facilities they need.
Yeah, like it's for me, it's like from going to the League of Ireland matches, you know, and now the television crews are sort of going, like from last week, the game that I was at, Shells versus Derry City, I was on the telly. Whoa, I'm famous. Like, you know, people sending me pictures going, Del, you're on the telly, like, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's like that for my kids are just like buzzing. Oh my God, the television's here, and the players that are out there, and they're so close to the substitutes that are warming up to try and get on, and my boys are down giving them high fives and stuff like that. Like, as a kid, that's what it means to go to a football match. You're just there going, oh my God, he's on telly and he's giving me a high five. And, you know, the boys then, as you see me vlogs, they got the ball, the match ball. Like, that ball, by the way, is in Zach's bedroom, hanging up. It hasn't been touched. It hasn't seen water. It hasn't seen rain. It hasn't seen grass. Zach and Jake have it in their bedroom, and it's like, you know, on a cabinet, and it will not be kicked again. You know, so that's how much it means to them. You know what I mean? This is how much it means to them. And to disrespect the league like he did like that is a fucking disrespect to me as a father and to other father and mothers throughout the country. How fucking dare you do that? You know what I mean? You've basically gone, because if he done that nowadays, like if John Delaney was in charge nowadays and he destroyed my kids' dream of the match ball that they got last Friday night, if I seen him, I'd knock him clean fucking out. And I don't like violence. But he would have destroyed my kids' fucking dream of playing on Talca Park or Tala Stadium or up in fucking Dundalk or Derry or in Cove or UCD or Finn Harps or anywhere like that in the League of Ireland. would have destroyed their dreams straight away, just going, oh, is the League of Ireland shit? Like, how fucking dare you? You know what I mean? Like, it's starting to turn around now. I see the turnaround already myself, because I'm going to the League of Ireland matches. I'm starting to see RTE fucking and getting their finger out of their fucking arse and going to the game last week. And now Virgin Media are watching the Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians game tomorrow night, which I'll be doing a live show. Check it out. But yeah, it's about time that they are starting that. Like, you know, but this is all down to the CEO, the fella who was the top man in the FAI, for him to turn around and go to these fucking Irish fucking TV stations and go, here, do you want to go to the fucking League of Ireland? We'll give you about 2 or 3 seasons. Pennies. You can fucking give us pennies. We don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But fucking after that, you start to paying fucking money if you want to put this on your like every Friday night. Like, who doesn't want to have football every Friday night? You know what I mean? Let's say there's lads that'll go for a pint on a Friday night. Sit there with your mates, have it on the telly. Happy fucking days. Like, seriously, we're like, you know what I mean? Who doesn't want that? Every fucker in the pub will be looking at it. You know what I mean? But the Irish TV stations don't fucking do that for some fucking beyond reason that they don't. Oh, well, guess why? It's because the FAI chief executive officer hasn't come to us and just goes, here, I'll sell you a fucking dream. Guess what? How about this? We'll sell you this for about 3 years, 4 years. We'll give it to you for fuck all. We'll see how it goes after that. Guess what will happen? God, you know what's going to happen? You'll get this thing called advertising. So you'll get all the advertising agencies, the bookies and all these fuckers wanting to get onto your fucking, your billboards, your commercials and all this stuff. It's not fucking rocket science. You know what I mean? This will happen. You know what I mean? Now it's starting to happen because John Delaney's probably gone. I don't know if that is the reason or whatever, but the League of Ireland now, their stadiums are starting to get fill out max, full capacity all the time. And it's great for me as an Irish fan to see this, going to the League of Ireland and looking at the stadium packed. It's brilliant, brilliant atmosphere. You know, but look, here we go. You know, I'm getting off in a bit of a rant, but I'll try to cool it down a bit. Let's move on.
What we're going to do now, everyone, is we're going to now look at what the cause for optimism is. Because as an outsider looking in, I think there is cause for optimism. From talking to Del and what I've seen, I think there is. And so this is a potential future Ireland 11 in a 4-3-3 formation. And the goalkeeper is Bazunu. And then you got a back four of Adar Rome. Mate, can you say these names? Adar, yeah. Moba Madelia, Collins, Johansson, Knight and Cullen, Zeffy, Moran, Parrott, and Ferguson. What do you reckon about that team, Del Boy?
Yeah, like, you know, these guys, and plus as well, by the way, these guys, like, there's other guys there that as well that would probably push them close to get onto the team. The likes of Collins, for example, he's the most expensive Irish player. He's gone above Robbie Keane. I think he went to Wolves for something like 20 or 30 million. Oma Bindele, he's only a young fella, and he's already starting to get into the force team. So we can all imagine how good he is going to be. Zach Knight, he was with Derby County. Wayne Rooney is absolutely head over heels with him. He thinks he's fucking unbelievable. Josh Cullen, he had a brain fart against France, and that's how they got their goal. But he's a great midfielder, and he's been a great servant so far. Zeffy, I'm hearing so much amazing things about him. He's supposed to be savage, and I'm hoping he's going under the radar for a while, because I want him to sort of earn his stripes and like, you know, not too much pressure on him so far. Troy Parrott, for me, he needs to step up now, because him, out of all that team there, he's at Spurs. He's out on loan to North Preston at the minute. He needs to step up to the plate. I think he thinks he's a bit of a Billy Big Balls and all this stuff. I won't go into too much detail about him, but he thinks he's already Harry Kane in the making. But no, mate, you have a lot to do. Evan Ferguson for me, and I don't want to put too much pressure on him. But Evan Ferguson for me is like, you know, from what I'm hearing, his head is well on his shoulders. He doesn't give a fuck. He's not fazed by anything. And that's the main thing for me, is not getting fazed by, like, you know, oh, I'm playing France today. Oh, I'm playing against Man United or Arsenal tomorrow. So what? And what would sum him up in a nutshell would be he got brought on against Arsenal, I think when they were losing 1 or 2-0, and he got on, and not even Harry Kane or anyone at the time opened up Arsenal like he did with Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba. Like, he absolutely fucking just went through them like fucking a hot knife through butter, and he scored a goal, and he only came off the bench. You know what I mean? And there wasn't many, and there isn't many teams that have done that to Arsenal this year. You know what I mean? But he came on as an 18-year-old kid and fucking destroyed them. Just came on and bang. And he's scored so many goals as well this season. But yeah, that for me means that, like, you know, look, we have a chance. I think, you know, we went through the dark days there and, like, you know, through the stream and stuff like that. But this is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I just hope that we can kick on from this and forget all the John Delaney and the FAI bullshit that we've talked about. And I hope that the likes of this team and, look, Stephen Kenny or whoever it is can lead these teams into the European Championships, the World Cups, and kick on and give the Irish fans and the Irish people what they deserve. Because the Irish fans, like, you know, they're up there with the best in the world, because they always bring it every single time. I was at the 2016 European Championships, and by Jesus Christ, I remember when I came out on in France, in Paris, where the Moulin Rouge is in Paris, and I came out of the underground tube station, and all I could see was green, and the hairs in the back of my neck stood up, and it made me so proud to be Irish that day. And that's what the Irish fans deserve.
See, and then there's this another formation that this fella put up, was this 3-5-2 formation as well, using more or less the same players. I mean, out of the two formations, Del, which one would you prefer to see them playing?
Oh, let me see.
Because you got this one, right?
Yeah.
You've got this one.
I'd probably go with the first one.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, the other one there, the 3-5-2 formation. Yeah, I'd probably go with that one at the minute, because O'Shea as well, like, he's West Brom and he's the captain of West Brom. Yeah, definitely, like, you know, and Cullen, Collins obviously there, Basuma. That Moran guy, I know a small bit about him. Yeah, he seems to be good potential as well. And Ferguson and Paris, yeah, like, you know, like, as any Premiership manager would say, you need a spine of a team, and the spine of that team looks fairly okay to me. And, like, some people may forget going, oh, you have to have world-class superstars on your team. I don't think you do. I think you need probably 1 or 2 world-class players, and the rest will come up to the level and they'll try their damnedest to get you over the line.
Exactly. So this is the Republic of Ireland's under-21 team, and they qualified for a playoff game against Israel for the UEFA European Under-21 Championships, which they unfortunately lost 3-1 on penalties after the game. The two-leg playoff against Israel ended in a draw. But, you know, they were in a really tough qualifying group with Italy, Sweden, Bosnia, Montenegro, and Luxembourg, and they ended up finishing second. So fair play to them.
Yeah.
So it's good. It is encouraging, and then, but the thing is, these youngsters, they need to be coached and managed properly, and the FAI needs to be run as a serious and professional organisation. No more incompetence, mismanagement, and financial impropriety. In short, no more John Delaney's. That's it in a nutshell. They can't, have this like laissez-faire attitude to it, and it needs to be done properly. And you can't be having this carry on like that happened under him, where someone has been able to run amok like that and cause countless amounts of damage.
Like with that, Warren, it's we're coming into an era now, like as for Irish football, we're coming into an era now where it is looking. I'm trying to choose me words carefully and wisely here, but we're coming into let's say sunshine and rainbows and lollipops and all this sort of crack, But as you says there, it needs to be managed correctly. We need to. First of all, we need to get the sponsorships, for money and stuff like that. You know what I mean? To continue this, we need to get the sponsorship right so we can grow grassroots and continue it on. It has to continue on. You know what I mean? Updating stadiums, improving League of Ireland stadiums, their facilities. Don't leave them out in the cold like they have been, because the way it is now, 90%, I'd say 95% of, we will just say from the 90s up to the last 5 years, I'd say 99.9% went to England, went to the UK, went to Scottish clubs, went to English clubs, Welsh clubs. That's where they went. Now, it's completely different with Brexit. They're all going to, as I said earlier on, France, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Germany, Swedish. That's where they're all going now. They're all going into these academies. Belgium, that's where they're going, because they're all in the EU. Whereas, kids nowadays have to be over 18 to go to work in Britain. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And I think it's going to develop see the way you have, we'll say Croatia, for example. Any of their good players, they're all in the Italian league, a few of them in the English league, Spanish, and they're all over Europe, which will help out Irish football, because you're bringing, let's say, an Italian defensive attitude to a game, matched with a Dutch midfield, a guy who's playing the Dutch league. You know what I mean? With a I don't know, a Spanish flair, So you're going to have all that sort of mixture in the one international team. It's going to be interesting. I think it is going to be interesting. So I don't think it was John Delaney's doing. I think it was just the Brexit thing forced Irish players into this.
No.
What's your make on that, actually?
What, of the Brexit thing and the impact it will have?
The impact it's going to have on the Irish players, where they have to go to Europe.
Because they won't. It will give them a wider scope of places to go to. And, a lot of these European clubs will give them a good grounding, and they will be coached properly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The German sides are known for it. Teams like Dortmund and Bayern, they've got really good youth academies. And I remember years ago, Del, I was in Sweden for a couple of weeks, and I remember I was walking past this park, and it was like a kids' game. They're probably about Zach's age, and they're all like, they were playing, and they were all playing in like a shape. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was when I was a kid, when there was about 30 kids all running behind the ball, and it was just complete and utter chaos. These kids were like playing in a formation. They were playing the ball on the ground. And I was thinking, my God, this is incredible. And then I remember being in Germany as well and going to a training session with my mate's team. And like everything they did, right, involved having a ball at their feet, right? So if they had to run around the pitch, they had to do it with the ball at their feet. They weren't allowed just to run. They had to run with a football at their feet. Do you know what I mean? So they were doing the fitness work, but they had to do it whilst kicking a ball as well at the same time. I just thought it was incredible. Do you know what I mean? And this is what I'm saying. It will give them a whole wider scope of experiences and whatnot. And they will be, you know, have access to good coaching and stuff like that. And because particularly going, you know, to the UK, I'm not 100% convinced that everywhere they go, they're going to get coached properly.
Yeah.
Particularly if they go up into Scotland. I'm not saying, you know, casting aspersions there, but
I know what you're saying.
There's concerns about the coaching, because where's the talent? If the coaches are that good, why aren't we producing players of the level of Modric and, you know, all these other players that the Croatian national team has brought through? Because we're not doing it. It's clear as day. And, you know, they're a country of a similar population size as Ireland and Scotland, and yet they get into finals, semi-finals, finals of major international tournaments, and yet we're not. So there must be, it has to be the coaching. It has to be. It can't be anything else. You know,
I think in the next say 5 years or so, and this is no disrespect to Scotland, I think Irish international football will probably overtake the Scottish national team.
100% it will, because these fuckers, they can't see further than the end of their nose. And, you know, it's an indictment of Scottish society that it's just too much fucking backdoor closet sectarianism there. Do you know what I mean? It honestly, it is. I was chatting to my dad's mate about it today. And you know this thing about kick out racism? He said they should bring in this thing, kick out sectarianism. And I completely understand why he said it, right? Because if they did, they would cause fucking absolute mayhem, right? Because it's everywhere, Del. Every pillar of society is built on fucking this sectarian nonsense. Do you know what I mean? And I you know, I would be worried about a young fella going up to be coached in Scotland, because I think they'd be better off staying in Ireland.
Yeah,
I really do. Do you know what I mean? Because if they go to Spain, or they go to Holland, or they go to Germany, I've got every confidence that they will be coached properly. Or France. Do you know what I mean? But just no. It hurts me to say it, but you're right. 100% right.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, you know, and that's not true, like, you know, the FAI or anything like that. I just think the cards were dealt as in, like, it's Brexit. You know, there's no option, you know. And like I seen in my own club, was it last summer, Atletico Madrid came, their coaches came, and they done a coaching sessions for a few weeks there. So their coaches, like, that were in their academy, were over in St. Kevin's. And basically, they were coaching players, but they were also having a look and saying, right, let's just check it out here. What's going on? Is there players here? What's called Matt Doherty, for example. Where did he go? Atletico Madrid. I know he's not playing much, but I think it's a sort of a feeder into, let's say, getting young kids going, right, fuck going to Man United or Arsenal or Liverpool. Let's look at Atletico Madrid, or it's a small little seed after being planted. Because, like, let's say Zach went to a few of their training sessions and he looks out now for their results. So, it's a small little seed that's in his head. He goes, I know 3 or 4 coaches that, coach at Atletico Madrid, and I'm going to watch their game tonight because Atletico Madrid are playing Barcelona or something like that. But I'm going to be up for Atletico Madrid. Do you know what I mean? So it's a small, they know the Spanish, the La Liga teams are sort of going, we can take a few of these players here, because the British, and I'm saying the British leagues, this Welsh, the Premier League and the Scottish League, they can't touch them until they're 18 years of age. Arsene Wenger was the most ruthless person who used to, Cesc Fabregas, used to take all their players because they couldn't sign a professional contract until they were 17. But in Spain, you had to be 17, but in England, you had to be 16. So Wenger used to just go to Fabregas, here, Fabregas, do you want a professional contract to be a professional footballer? Here you are, sign the dotted line, come over to us. And that's why we used to take a load of Barcelona players. And not only us, but like loads of other players. That's the way it is. The Spanish now are just going, looking, we'll get fucking one over on them here. Let's go and have a look. Check out Ireland, see is there talent there. But anyway, look, Warren, thanks so much for doing this. I cannot put into words how much I appreciate and I've enjoyed doing this stream with you. Sort of your final words, and then I'll get into what you have coming up on your channel. Just a quick few words there. And
I just think that, one, John Delaney and the FAI are extremely lucky that they're not sitting in a prison cell. That's my honest opinion about it, because the way that whole organisation was managed, and the fact of the matter is, Del, they had government money. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't money that was generated through turnstiles and stuff like that. A lot of that money came from the Irish government. So it's public money. So they've mismanaged public money, right? Money that, at the end of the day could have been spent in schools, in hospitals, and so on and so forth. And, that is, when you think about it like that, that is shocking, right? And, nurses may not be getting, I don't know what the situation there is with the health service, whether nurses get a decent wage or not. But if it's like it is in England, then they're not. Do you know what I mean? And that, is a £50 million, €50 million that, the FAI had out of the Irish government, and that money could have been put in and spent, on a lot of other things than the football. But then I did have a really mad conspiracy theory about the whole John Delaney saga. Do you think that he was bought and put in there by the GAA to ruin Irish football?
I understand what you're saying, but no, because I just think that his dad was probably a driving force behind it, because he took over from his dad, and the FA or the GAA, the Gaelic Athletic Association, were probably there just laughing on, yeah, this is great for us, really is, And yeah, that like, you know, they were just sitting back going, we don't need to do anything here. We don't need to go sabotage anything or anything like that. Like, you know, so that's the way I look at it.
But then, and then on top of that, I just think that the future's bright. You know, things are gonna kick on. Who's the CEO now of Irish football? Because I saw something when I was doing this. It had a picture of Niall Quinn.
Yeah, Niall Quinn was supposedly they asked him to do it, and he just stood away. He says, "No way, I'm not going to go down that avenue. I don't want to do it." So I just think that he stepped away from it because it was too fresh after the John Delaney thing. So he says no.
But who's doing it now?
I'm not even sure who it is. I just think it's just some anonymous person that's just sort of behind the scenes just doing it, which is the best way, because like John Delaney is probably one of the most famous CEOs of any football association. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we shouldn't know the person. Who the fuck are you? It's about the football. You know?
He's got the fame. He's like almost like a pop star or something, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it. Well, look, Warren, what are you doing anyway? What's next up for your channel?
What's it now? It's Thursday, so Saturday I'll be doing my 2:30 show. Be mostly on the Premier League, because there's not much football on Saturday. There's Premier League games and there's Scottish Premiership games. So I'll be doing that. And basically it's a show where you can come and watch and keep up to date with what's going on and all the 3 o'clock kickoffs, get involved in a bit of light-hearted banter, and just, have a good time, like chatting about the matches and having a bit of a laugh, really. And so, that's what I've got coming up. As for the week after, I'm not sure at the moment. I'll have to see. But then on Saturday lunchtime, we've got the big one. It's the Old Firm derby. So if Celtic win that game, that's it. I think it's almost done and dusted. If they win that, they'll be 12 points clear.
Yeah, it's done and dusted then after that.
Yeah, exactly. It'd have to be a monumental collapse for them not to win it. And it's at Celtic Park, so I just can't see anything other than a comfortable Celtic win, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And please do check out Warren's channel. Please subscribe to him and check his channel out. I'll be tuning in the chat room on the Saturday. I absolutely love your show, mate. It's fucking brilliant. I suppose, look, please do subscribe to Warren as well if you haven't already. Check out his videos and hit the notification bell as well. There it is, right there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and give us a like or two before you leave the video. But also tomorrow night, I'm probably going to do the Bohemians Shelbourne Rovers or Bohemians Shamrock Rovers watch along. So please do check it out. I'll be probably losing my shit, but however, what else is new? You know what I mean? But thanks a million for everyone for checking out today's stream, and a big, huge thanks to Warren. Huge thanks, mate. Thank you so much for doing this. I really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me come on and help you with it, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, you're a legend. Fair play to you. Fair play to you. And we will be.
You go and watch that watch along tomorrow night, people.
Yeah, you know it. And as well, like, you know, so as it says, I'm doing the watch along. It's going to be on telly for the crack. So hit the notification bell. I'll be on there running them up for the shell, or for the team. You keep saying shells, Jesus Christ, for the Rovers and Bows game. And after the Liverpool Arsenal game, I'll be doing the fan cam usually, as I always do after every Arsenal game. I'll be doing the fan cam call-in show. Come in, show your face, don't show your face, and tell us what you're fucking thinking. But anyway, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already before you leave. Really do appreciate it. As I said, to sum it all up for me, John Delaney, you big bollocks, you fucked up Irish football for fucking ages. I have to leave on a good note. So what I'm going to do is I'll put on my intro, right? That's what I'm going to do to me intro to take us out, if that makes any sense. But yeah, let me try that here and see how it works, or if it works. But yeah, please do hit the subscribe button. Check out Warren's Team Talks on a Saturday. As I says, I'm going to be doing the watch along for the Bows and Rovers game tomorrow, so check it out. I see light at the end of the tunnel, folks. I do see light. We have a young team coming up. We just need it to be managed fucking well. Take care, everyone. God bless, and I'll leave you all with this one.
And a little cross in there, and it's come through here. McIntyre! Dynamo Bucharest to step forward. The nation holds its breath.